Welcome to the Aftershow. I am Max. This is Kat. And today we have something. No, stop. Um, Mark Reid and Andrew Wilson. We already have Issa and Dr. J. Hope you're doing well. No, Sally. Damn cat. Always attacking me. I see. Oh my. I see Beamsy there. Hello. How are we? No, don't. Okay. No, pinche cat. Basta. I'm sorry. Always the same thing with this filthy feline. No! Stop! Don't.
Hey,
Isa, how are you?
exhausted.
I can imagine. How are you doing with the leg?
Doing good, doing.
All right. So let's get the link out and pin it. Were you in a car accident or something like that?
A pretty bad car accident.
Oh, shoot. Ah, I'm so sorry. I hope you get better soon. That sucks. Everyone, let's send some hearts for Isa.
Thank you.
So yes, so dedicated from the hospital. So Isa, you rock.
What the
Welcome
fuck?
John and Specs.
Hey John, how's it going?
Uh, am I still?
Um, Mark said he will grab a bite and he will be with us in a little while. So we'll get started. Mark's presentation, I'll start with you, Isa.
Um, so he had a presentation. That's something that we like. That's always they always get points for that. I like the color scheme too. I'm a big turquoise teal kind of guy. So, yeah, I always love that color. So that was kind of really nice. So bonus points for that. But I think he clearly displayed the argument he was going to make. Um, I do think that when you're dealing with arguing for secular humanism, you've got to it requires a little more work than I think theism, because theism has like a lot many years of like explanation, particularly Christianity. And so I think he kind of gave us some points of what secular humanism offers, but I think what would hurt for me as a viewer is and I think he gets attacked later in the debate, is like he needs to show us like the legal elements of secular humanism, because like you have this point where you're going to get this kind of attack where you're going to be asked, well, how do you deal with this ethical issue? What is your way of handling this? And then you might get the response, well, it's just your opinion. This is a type of thing that I think he needed like a preemptive strike on, and I don't think he reviewed Andrew's arguments and these kinds of perspectives to deal with this. It's a very high level type of argument to deal with, and it requires a lot of work. But I think it's something that would have really helped his opening. But besides that, I think it was really clear. I think he does cover a lot of good points, and yeah, so I think it was pretty good.
Sorry,
All
Issa.
right.
Can I just ask a question? When you say it's a high-level type of argumentation, what like? So, uh, Mark, as far as I can tell, even if he doesn't necessarily subscribe to this school of thought, does seem to be a virtue ethicist, whereas Andrew subscribes to the revealed wisdom. Like he's a deontologist. His morality has been essentially bestowed upon him by a higher power, which is fairly typical. And unfortunately, that does mean that Mark has an uphill to climb, because Andrew can just go, well, my God says this, but then he also states that he doesn't need to demonstrate that his God exists. Andrew has essentially, but by virtue of his like this weird position that he's put himself in, he's given his intuition what seems to be an ontological grounding, whereas Mark, on the other hand, his position is he stood on sand by comparison, in this argument. And the fact of the matter is that I actually fundamentally I agree with Mark more. I think that is how humans live their lives. But Andrew's position is he has an easier position to argue from, if that makes sense.
Sure. The issue that why I said it's difficult for Mark is because you said he's a virtue ethicist. Okay, that's fine, but you have to prove what virtues are. You have to look into what ethics are. What Andrew's rebuttal is going to be is like you're just making up your virtues and ethics.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter what these are all just made up created narratives. It's not actually intrinsically real. And that's the
yeah,
point that I'm saying, that it's hard. You have to do a lot of work to showcase what your virtues and ethics are. You can't just say I have virtues and ethics. You got to showcase what that means or it's translatable to other people. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean?
So, yeah, of course. So this is why, like, I really like Andrew. This is why I call Andrew a rhetorician. He uses his intuitions. Like his intuition is that it's wrong to murder people. His intuition is that it's wrong, like for same-sex marriage. His intuition is that it's wrong for X, Y, Z, or the other. And then he points back at this text and he goes, well, this text lines up with my intuitions. Therefore, I'm going to
I don't think that's
retrospectively
accurate.
state
How do
that it
you
has an
know?
ontological value to it.
Wait, how do you know that that's the chronology? How are you like you just think that that's what happened? What if he originally got it from the ancient text?
Well, so your I think human intuition is what governs our morality. And if I say I think
What?
this, and hang on, no, no, no,
Hold on. That's
hang quiet,
rough.
hang quiet,
That's rough. You got
hang,
to admit. Give me a little
hang,
smirk. Hey, give me
yeah,
a
but
little
hang
smile.
quiet, hang quiet. Look, can I finish my sentence?
Yeah, just give me a little
And then
smile.
if I
Okay.
say that Andrew thinks the same thing, but he then also has a text that says the same thing that just so happens to pre-exist our existence, that doesn't make his position any more valid. It's still an intuition. He's just retrospectively justifying it with the text that pre-exists him.
So you think that all
Because,
of
but there's no distinction between the people that pre-existed us had the same intuitions, or the people who pre-existed us had revealed knowledge.
So you think
How do, how do
intuitively?
you how do you how do you tell the difference
Can I
between the
ask
two?
you a question?
Yeah, of course.
Do you think intuitively everyone will come to the conclusion that
No,
same sex relationships are wrong?
no, because I don't think same-sex
So where did
relationships.
where did Andrew get that idea from?
I have no clue.
So did he
We
retro?
don't know.
Well, hold on.
He doesn't. He
Hold
doesn't
on. Well, let
follow
me
the morality of the Bible. No
Well,
one does. You
wait.
don't go around
I'm just
Max,
studying
asking
Max,
John.
adulterers.
yeah,
John
but
is
just,
making
I mean,
the
just
argument
just
that
let some
all of
power play
Andrew's
this out.
positions were arrived at intuitively and then post hoc justified from the ancient text. That's
Yeah.
weird to me because
So
it doesn't seem possible when
so
I mean, do we
well,
all intuitively
if you
arrive at the Ten Commandments or
no,
the
so
doctrines?
They don't follow the Ten
Max,
Commandments.
That's not the
let me
question I had.
so if you've got two people and they have two different sets of intuitions. We can agree with that. There are people that exist that have different intuitions, right?
I'm just asking. You said that Andrew's ideas he arrived at intuitively and then rationalized them with an ancient
No.
text, right?
Um,
That's what you just
my
said 5
claim,
minutes ago.
no, my claim is actually more fundamental than that. I think my claim is much, much more fundamental.
Okay,
than that.
go on.
I think my claim is that all we have is our intuitions. We can interrogate arguments logically, but I think the way that we feel, our emotions are 100% intuitive. We don't get to choose what we believe. We don't get to choose how we feel.
Okay, so tie this back into where how does the ancient text come in again? Like, just tie up your point in a bow. Just give me a few sentences.
So
tie it up.
we are a culture, a society, a species that has existed for thousands of years, right? Would you agree with that? Let me set on
I can't disagree with that. Yes, I agree with that.
Okay. Would you agree that our biology is broadly speaking the same, like our brain?
What was your original point? That's all I want to know.
No. I want to lay this argument out point by point, and I'm just interested to see if you agree with every position that I take.
Okay,
and
that's
I would like to
convenient.
see if you disagree with it.
And then, for the sake of expediency, other people want to talk. Like I chimed in when I thought that I felt like something about your argument was a little weird. I want to let other people talk too. So I'll let Max take it from here. But
Max will butt in, but I'm laying out propositions, and then I'm going to put a conclusion.
Okay, I'm game. Yeah.
Okay, so my claim is that humans are mostly driven, or actually almost completely driven, by our intuitions. And biologically speaking, going back 100,000 years, we're actually not that different. So if a culture that precedes us writes a book that lines up with our current set of intuitions, that doesn't mean that we're not driven by intuition. You don't get to say that ontologically speaking, they have some kind of revealed knowledge by the creator of the universe. The only thing that we conclude is that their intuitions, broadly speaking, align with our intuitions today. It doesn't mean that it's God revealed just because it lines up with our current intuitions. What you're essentially saying is that because their morality, broadly speaking, lines up with our morality, oh well, then it must be like ontologically true, and that's not the case.
All right, let's put a pin in that.
Let's move on. Let's move on.
Let's say hello to Mark. Have a couple of messages for you.
It's crazy. People are saying, "Oh, Andrew is claiming to win at the end because he lasted long." That was 7 fucking hours for me. How long did they expect me to stay? Like, seriously, I should have left way before that. Like, seriously, what the hell?
Mark, yes. I have maximum respect for your endurance there. I definitely don't agree with everything that you said, but I do have maximum respect for your tolerance for the shit show that turned into. Jesus.
Well, yeah, no, I think that I always expected to be a dumpster fire. I didn't think it would be that bad, and I certainly didn't expect just the overt racism and then a racist claim, well, it's not racism because I'm not in that country. I mean, holy crap. Holy crap. Like, I'm telling you right now, in Australia, that is a bad word. That is up there with the N-word. It really is. It is, you know, and even, wow.
I completely accept your cultural context of that word, and now that I know it, I wouldn't say it. Oh, 1 sec, might be about to be interrupted by a daughter here. The only thing that I would say that I disagree with. Sorry, 1 sec. Isla, what's up, kiddo? She sent me a message.
All right, Specs, thoughts on Mark's opening?
Sorry, can someone just go before me?
Yes, Dr. J, you're round. We have it's adorable. I'll mod every fucking person I feel like. Oh, that's adorable. I mean, you want to click the link? You want to click the link?
Oh, you don't have
Because
enough viewers. You don't
I
have
lo-
enough mods. You don't have
I
enough this. You don't. What the
I
hell is
love
wrong with these
that.
people?
I love that you're telling me keep crying while hiding in the side chat like a cockroach. Love that. So Dr. J's not around. Well, Sunflower, thoughts on Mark's opening?
Oh man, I literally chimed in to the debate right after the openings. Literally, like I was literally I watched the entire thing. I just barely missed the openings, so I'll pass my time to someone else for that one.
All right. So Mark, the thing I always ask: do you feel you accomplished your objective with your opening?
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to talk about secular humanism, what it's based on. It's not virtue ethics. I put in my opening quite clearly. It is a utilitarian based thing, so definitely not virtue ethics. I'm not putting to any particular virtue in order to encourage people in that direction. It is based upon the reasonable expectations of things. Are you okay, Issa? Are you all right, mate?
He's in the hospital.
Yeah, I had a horrible
What
car
happened?
accident.
Oh shit! Sorry, man. That's horrible.
Yeah, it was really terrible. I went to a funeral and then right after, it was like a horror movie. We can talk about it later if you want, but it was like a
Wow.
horror
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. Hope you're well, man.
the
Like,
car
take care of
split.
yourself. Holy
Thanks.
crap! Yeah, that's.
I don't
rough.
want to make light of Issa's position, but he wasn't streaming whilst he was driving, was he? Because we have warned you against that in the past.
Oh no, I wasn't driving. I wasn't the one who had the accident.
Well, I thought I was good for hanging in for 7 hours. They've got Issa, who's like, in an accident, and then he's on stream. Like, kudos, sir. Your determination is encouraging.
Thanks, brother.
Well done. Yeah, I thought I was good for hanging in for 7 hour. Who has a 7-hour debate? Like,
I was shocked. I was there the whole time. I was like, oh my goodness.
I was sitting there going, come on, this has got to end sometime, right? Like, and to sort of go, well, I hung in there, so it's victory. It's like, no.
No,
what are you talking
No, you
about?
just had your idiot fans send you super chats towards the end. Like the ones towards the end were all Andrew's dumbass fans.
Whatever. I really think that I mean the opening was I think was good. I think I sort of shifted off or tried to shift off all of the atrocities that Christianity did, and I really wasn't trying to say, hey, all Christians are bad. So I don't know if that's something that maybe Dr. J felt or Sunflower thinks that I was accusing all Christians. I'm just saying that this system has had, they have been in control for a long time, and it has not gone well for people, and that's what I was trying to get across. I think that I did accomplish what I wanted to. Yes.
Awesome. And I sometimes ask if you had fun, but I don't think today was particularly fun.
Yeah, what did you ask that I was accusing you? I'm sorry.
I hope that you didn't think I was like lumping all Christians in with Andrew Wilson kind of thing. Like that isn't what I was intending to really do. It's just sort of,
no, I didn't get that. No.
Yeah. Well, it's just something he said, you're lumping them all together. I'm like, well, I fucking hope not, because, you're terrible. Like, if all Christians were as bad as him, imagine what the world would be like. I mean, crap.
Well,
seriously.
This is like Peter Markley. You're a fan of Peter Markley, so...
Well, exactly. I mean, this argument is something that tracks in both directions. So, for example, you can point at the Catholic Church and their willingness to move pederast priests around. And then you can also look at the public school system and state that there are people within the public school system that have abused children, and that, or like we've got secularists in the UK that are institutionally avoiding things like the grooming gang crisis, which is legitimately a problem that we have. It's a cultural grinding that we have, and it's the secularists that are essentially trying to ignore it on the basis of social cohesion. That is not something that would happen within religions. So secularist humanists or any religion can all be guilty of this. So it's just part of the human condition. I don't think you can necessarily ascribe it to one group, but because you can find an example of like a group of Christians or a group of secularists that are guilty of a particular crime doesn't mean that you can ascribe it to all of them. So from my perspective, that argument is kind of moot for that reason. And I would sort of just leave that there, to be honest.
All right. Give us your thoughts on Mark's opening.
My thoughts. Mark's opening was great. I agree with almost all of it. The only issue that I did take is obviously prior Mark rocking up. Because I do tend towards virtue ethics. Mark made and he's just stated a second ago that he did make the case of the utilitarian approach to secular humanist values. The problem is that the reason why we look from a utilitarian point of view, the reason that we say this is good and this is bad is because we ascribe value to certain virtues and experiences. So I actually think that the distinction between virtue ethics and utilitarianism or consequentialism is a little bit circular, because the reason that we place certain virtues on a pedestal is because they lead to certain outcomes, and you can't look at the outcome without being utilitarian about it. And
no, you've got it the opposite way around, John. We're basically looking at the outcome, the consequences, that's consequentialism, and basically saying what actions do we have to do to get there. That is not virtue ethics. Virtue ethics is saying, hey, certain virtues will lead you to better outcomes. Okay, totally different. Well, I mean, totally different. I get what you're saying, but
I don't see how they can be totally different. I understand that. The path of travel is different. Like you start at one end of the scale and move to you start at one end of the journey, move to the other. But
that's why they're different.
But we're still traveling on the same track, are we not?
Yes, but it's not virtue ethics. That's the thing. Virtue ethics is saying, hey, if you are honest and brave and all of these virtues, it will get you to the best outcome. Consequentialism is saying, hey, if we want to get to the outcome, these are the actions we need to take to get there, including showing certain virtues, right?
So but how we don't identify the virtues out of whole cloth, do we? We don't just like materialize into the world. So, for example, let's say that I place honesty as a virtue.
Sure.
Right. So it's wrong. Well, I would say as a virtue, it's wrong to lie. Do I just say that it's wrong to lie because it's wrong to lie, or is there a consequence of lying that I think has a negative outcome for humanity? How do you end up at the virtue if you don't look at the consequence of the virtue? You need both. It's a yin and it's a yang.
No. So relativism would say that, hey, under some circumstances, lying is completely acceptable. Like if you have a consequence of, hey, we want to protect, say, these people, you can say, hey, it's completely moral to lie. That's fine. And ignore that virtue because it gets you to the result that you're after. That's the difference. Right. You're not saying, hey, you have to have this virtue to get a good result. You're saying, hey, how to get to here. Sometimes lying, being honest is sometimes really good to get you to a good result. Sometimes it's terrible to get you to the good result. So it depends on the circumstance.
So if you look at a virtue in complete isolation, then I would agree with you. That would be a necessary consequence of it. So, for example, like if I just took the virtue of honesty 100% of the time is absolutely necessary to be a virtuous person, and then my 5-year-old daughter said to me, "Hey, is Father Christmas real?" And I said, "Well, no, neither is the Tooth Fairy, neither is this, neither is that, neither is the other." Or for example, if there was a requirement that I've been held up by gunpoint, and somebody's life is in my hands, and the only thing that I need to do in order to prevent them from being shot is to lie, then obviously the virtue at play there, it has to be balanced with other virtues. Like virtues don't exist in a singular virtue doesn't exist in isolation. So you can break apart a system to a point at which the system literally breaks, but virtue ethics in and of itself, I would argue.
Well, virtue ethics doesn't deny the importance of consequentialist sort of,
No,
consequences, right?
it absolutely needs it in order to justify itself.
No, No.
Yeah, it does.
Virtue ethics goes to the nature of the person, their moral fiber, their virtues basically. So, honesty, generosity, compassion, all of these virtues that you should have, and that will lead you to the better outcome. That's what virtue ethics claims. Consequentialism is, hey, if we want to get to this result, it is really focused on the outcomes rather than on having virtues. Like I'm really sorry, John, but they are two completely. I mean, they're not completely. I get what you're saying, that there's sort of consequentialists will uphold some virtues. I get what you're saying, and virtue ethics will pay attention to consequences. That is true, but they are totally separate ways of morality. Okay, they really are.
I'm not claiming that they're the same thing. I'm saying that they are kind of in simpatico, because how do you argue a virtue without a consequence?
Well, that being honest and brave is going to get you to the best result.
Yes, but
how about this?
The result is the consequence.
Set up a test where the two virtue systems would create different results. So, for example, maybe we could take the example of sticking things in your ass. Is it good on virtue ethics? Is it good on consequentialism?
Well,
I don't know.
So let's without being too put in. So let's put it this way: we in the West may or may not potentially be facing a crisis with regards to birth rate. As a value, as a virtue, I place the rights of the individual and bodily autonomy on a pedestal. And if that virtue requires me to face the end of our species, because it is a principle upon which I require of myself to defend, and if that means that we end as a species, that principle, as far as I'm concerned, is worth dying for. As a species,
so you would stick something in your ass if it meant dying? If it was
can you not?
Right. That's okay. So the point that I'm making, Poindexter, is that there are certain virtues that are more important than our existence as a species. So I would not violate the right of another person to control their body for the continued existence of our species. So this kind of Handmaid's Tale type situation where, like, the species is dying out, so we have to subjugate women and put them in breeding farms, etc. Even if it meant that our species was going to end, I would not allow that. I would not countenance that. That would be something that I would consider to be, despite the utility of the existence of the species, I would consider that to be something that we would just have to accept our fate, our end, with humility and honor. We would just have to accept that we've come to an end. We don't get to just violate these virtues because of the outcome that we think is like humanity's continued existence isn't a given, and we don't get to just like subjugate people because it will continue humanity's existence.
Why not?
Because it's a virtue I hold, regardless of the outcome.
A virtue of what?
Because it's a virtue I hold, a value I hold, regardless of the outcome.
Well, yeah, but that wasn't that Andrew's whole point, is that like it just comes down to you not liking it.
Yeah, but there are a lot of outcomes. The reason that virtues exist is because of the potential outcomes that they hold. And what I'm saying here is like there's
that's the most vague. Dude, can you just make points that aren't like abstract statements?
That is the point. I'm talking about the experience. So, for example, like I have a daughter and I have a son. I would not want my son to subjugate my daughter, and I would not want my daughter to.
You would not want. It's all coming down to what you would not want, and you would want.
Another thing some people do. I'm not trying to be crass about it, but they like to be subjugated, sexually or not, and that's
you're talking about
right.
like masochists.
What's your obsession with sex? We're talking morality, not sex. Holy shit.
I mean, we're all adults here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, sex. I don't know who the hell this guy is, but like, there are a lot of interesting parts of morality that do kind of that like sex can kind of like shine a light on in terms of things like
it doesn't work
consent.
like that.
In terms of things like consent. Okay, sorry, I'll shut up. Go on.
You people don't even understand what consent is in general.
What do you mean, you people?
Yes, the Andrew supporters.
I'm not even a supporter of Andrew. I think he's really like a jerk.
Disgusting piece of trash. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not far from, but I believe in consent. Yeah.
Well.
Really? He's watching us. Hi.
Hey, Andrew, get far.
You can come here if you want. I'll be nice.
It's that new thing that non-binary people seem to do. It's that consensual non-consent. I don't know what that's all about, but maybe that's a virtue. I don't know.
Well,
morality has nothing to do with sex, you dumbo.
How does it not? What do you mean? Why wouldn't it?
I'm just trying. My bad. I'm just trying to learn. My bad.
You're not trying to learn.
Consent is a central part of morality, and consent is a central part of sex. How is that not like overlap there?
Because I mean, it's very clear the rules on consent. It's not a murky situation. It's very clear. So yeah, it's you consent. Yes, no. It's a binary. It's a true binary. Right? So I don't know what the problem is. How do you need a sign? Do you need a consent sign? A neon sign that says yes?
I mean, I've heard of things like safe words. What's the point of a safe word if they're...
That's what I tried to tell the court with my legal situation, but they didn't.
What's a safe word?
My lawyer told me not to.
No.
Well, Max, I have to be honest here. There is a part, not necessarily with regards to consent. Whether consent is granted or not is a true binary, but the understanding of consent between two parties does have some gradation to it. So, for example, there's the notion of implied consent, right? So
it's still a binary.
No, ontologically, it is still a binary. Either somebody consents or they don't. But you can have implied consent. So I might perceive consent where consent doesn't actually exist. So, for example, almost all of the liberals in this chat would advocate that sex work is just work, right?
Yeah.
So if I engage in the hypothetical, if I engage with a prostitute and I give her money in order to have access to her body for some limited time period, I'm implying consent because she's accepting the money, right? But if there's a pimp stood behind her with a gun that I can't see, does consent actually exist or not?
And wait, is this something that you've done personally, or is it like
no? I literally started with saying in the hypothetical, so I don't know why you feel the need to ask that question. But
like,
my point
I seriously missed that. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
You mean she's being coerced? You mean she's being coerced?
So, like the two parties that are in the room at the time, there does appear to be consent. And whilst you're ontologically speaking, you're actually right. Consent is a binary. Either a person does or doesn't consent. But consent exists between two parties. And if there is a third party that one of the two parties can't see, isn't aware of, how does consent exist? So, for example, if as a quote unquote punter, I was prepared to engage with a prostitute that had the ability to consent of her own volition, but there exists a number of prostitutes in the world that I don't know if they're being coerced, then how does quote unquote the consent? So this is where the gray area exists with regards to consent and morality. Like we have to engage with this, surely. We can't just say consent is a binary and fuck everybody off that doesn't agree, because there is a gray area to it. There has to be a gray area to it.
But there is a gray area in that hyper specific situation of someone being forced into sex work.
Yeah, it's
a really
egregious example. It's a really egregious example. But like you and I, we like the fact that you and I get along, Max, is because we're fairly disagreeable. people. I mean, we like getting on with people. We like having conversations, but where we disagree with the person, we will just go, no, I fucking disagree with you, and this is why I think you're wrong, right?
Yes.
We respect each other because of that. But the world is also full of a huge number of people who aren't disagreeable and don't. I mean, consent is a grey area. It's a massive grey area. Like, let's say you've got a husband and wife, and the husband wants to fuck the wife, and the wife goes, no, but you know what, fuck it, because you've been pestering me so much, I'll do it, just keep you happy. Like, how does, like, has she been, like, coerced? Like, where's the grey area? Like, there's a massive grey area with regards to consent.
Well, I mean, you could say coerced, you could say convinced.
Well, exactly, but who's making the argument? This is my point. This is the grey area. This grey area has to exist. But we've deviated so far from the debate; it's untrue at this point. One of the things that was said in the debate that I would like to disagree with Mark on, despite the fact
maybe
that
we should let someone else talk real quick. I mean, I feel like it's just been a kind of, there's a lot of people in the panel.
We need to go into.
Can I? No, Max. I just need to give my thoughts.
Oh,
sorry.
yes, because we
something
skipped
came
you
up with something came up with a uni assignment. Sorry, I just had to answer it. It was a really good presentation. I enjoyed it. It was obviously the fact that you had a presentation was good. It really laid down what secular humanists believe, and yeah, so it was a good presentation. I really enjoyed it. The opening statement was probably the best part of the debate, and Mark's opening statement was the best part of the debate.
Mark said something and it never gets addressed. I've seen many people do the objection, the explanation of why even their so-called objective morality is subjective. They will not touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, yeah.
And Mark was like, explained it, and they never.
They never will because
touch it. Ever.
They never will because they have to still accept fundamentally that it's not objective morality; it's just the subjective morality of their God. They believe that everything's right. It's still the subjective morality of their God. They cannot admit that because if they do, then that's pretty much their entire argument over.
So that was actually the question that I had for Mark: is does he believe in transcendental rights, where there's no limitation on what we perceive to be wrong or right? So, for example, with coercing people to doing sexual acts against their will, there's no limitation on that, right? We should be able to say that that's wrong, full stop, no matter what. That transcends everything, right?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean, like, by transcends everything. Like, does it transcend reality?
Yeah. So, in a way, yes. So, for example, if I were to say that coercion is wrong, and if I were to speak to another individual and say, "Hey, you agree with that, right?" They would say, "Well, yeah, obviously I agree with that." Now, what if we find someone who disagrees with that? What do we do in that situation where, because that's how society works, where me and the other guy who agree with one another, we're in the society ourselves. This is a hypothetical, of course, but like, then you have someone that disagrees with us. That's like a small country, a third world country that doesn't follow the same rules we do. Regardless if they agree with us, that right, that human right, transcends both of our country's borders, regardless if we agree or not. Correct?
But I don't think that's the case. I don't think there is objective thing there. You have to show that it's actually objectively wrong. And I may have an opinion on what's wrong, sure. And it may lead to, like, that country is probably going to be a mess if that's the case. Like, it's probably going to be a very terrible country to live in. I wouldn't want to live there where, a guy could just grab me and do whatever, would you?
No, not at all. I think when you're, and I'm saying this as a Christian myself, because I watched the whole debate, and I don't agree with it. Oh, no. I don't agree with Andrew on everything. And I was raised Protestant. He's Orthodox, so there's already that difference. But I will say, I think that there are things that we can handle in humility that don't have to resort in name calling or slurs or any of that. That was totally uncalled for, in my opinion. But I think if you're going to defend, especially intersubjectivity, I feel like that was one of the key things that you were trying to get Andrew to understand. He could not even understand that even the agreeance that happens in his own church is intersubjectivity, regardless if he wants to admit it or not. That's true. But I think also,
are you making a point to this point, or like you're just saying buzzwords? I feel like what is?
No, I'm understanding him.
No.
Sorry,
this was a pretty high contention in the debate, because
my fault. I'll shut up. Sorry.
It was a pretty high contention, because that's one of the things that Mark was trying to get Andrew to understand, is that even you within your own church, you guys have your intersubjectivity. You're saying that you believe these objective things, but you all had to agree on it. And that's the subjectivity part. And Andrew wasn't wanting to admit that. Instead, he was trying to, again, he was trying to put that burden back on Mark every single time. But the reason I'm laughing is because it's like I saw it happen. It kept happening over and over and over again. But I would say, if you want to tackle that, you should definitely start with it when I'm trying to think of how to put this. Already, religious people come at it immediately. They have objective morality, like immediately.
No, they don't.
Well, no.
No. Hang on. They claim to have objective morality.
Yes, that's a claim. Yeah, no, I'm not saying they actually do. I'm saying that they claim that they do.
Okay.
If you're going to do that, you're going to have to. Then again, this is a Christian saying this, and I'm saying this because I'm truth seeking. I don't care if I'm wrong or right. I want to know the freaking truth. Yeah,
that's fine. I think that you do have a point. You feel like you're impelled to say, hey, if that culture is doing that, and it seems to be something you really don't like, then you should force yourself on that culture and change what they're doing, kind of thing. Change what it is about them. Some atheists appeal to social sort of biology, evolution, all of this stuff. We're a social animal, and making that social structure work is objective. But I don't follow that. But I think that it's pretty ubiquitous. And I use the word ubiquitous because that means it's generally the case, and not universal, which means absolutely everyone. But it's generally the case that societies and humans want their societies to do well. Like, they want to be in a society that is flourishing, or really well. And I think that sort of non-consensual thing, it does not lead to a good society. Now, here's the thing: if your goal is to ruin your society and have an oppressive, horrible society, then that's moral by your standards. Okay, that's moral by your standards.
So we have
if it is the case, John.
Yeah,
if it is the case that you want this society to be harmonious, work well together, that kind of thing, then you're being immoral even by your own standards. Because if you want your society to do well, and you're encouraging just whatever, I don't see how that society could flourish or be in any way successful.
I guess I could kind of see that.
I'll add one thing, because just imagine if you're in a society where anyone can just grab a woman and do whatever, right? What do you think the other men and a husband and this person and that, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, but it's going to be defense. Like, as soon as that happens, they're going to react in defense.
Yeah, and it's going to be an absolute disaster for the society. Sorry, John, go ahead. I've finished.
No, it's fine. Well, I was going to say, under that set of circumstances, somebody's going to die, and it's not going to be my wife. This ultimately seems like it comes down to like it's essentially it's a moral relativism, where one party claims to have an objective basis for their relativistic position. And I can't get away from the fact that it seems to be like a retrospective justification. It's like, my intuitions, my upbringing, my society has told me that this is the good thing, and I'm now going to retrospectively justify it by inserting my creator, my God. Now, my morality is actually very, very similar to Mark's, in that I think that we need to look at essentially who we are as a species and how we can best flourish. And you end up in these sort of like Petersonian Sam Harris discussions of what does quote unquote truth mean. It's like we all know what flourish means. Like we all know what it is for us to have a good life. To make the argument that we don't understand what that is, to engage in this kind of what word am I looking for? It's not solipsistic. It's
sophistry.
Sophistry. Thank you very much, Tony. This sort of like sophistic argument. I don't understand that. Like we're governed by our intuitions in almost every aspect of day-to-day life, and to want to retrospectively insert like an ontological lawgiver when there's no demonstration that ontological lawgiver actually exists is just it's a retrospective justification of something that isn't justified, and I don't get it.
Well, that wasn't really covered in the debate at all.
It seems like it almost always is. I mean, is this Andrew? Is this literally Andrew Wilson in the chat here right now?
No, it's somebody else other than the guy that
somebody
you were
else
watching
other than
for
Andrew.
hours.
No,
somebody else other than the guy you were just watching for hours with the same background, the exact same. It's an AI Andrew.
Well, it could have been. I don't know.
Isn't it as simple as like, Mark? Do you think you've bridged the?
By the way, Max, how you doing again, man? It's nice to see you again.
Hello.
No,
I'm
yes,
gonna be.
I don't.
I'm going to be banking on your goodwill, as I'm sure there's going to be lots of shots towards me. To at least give me equal speaking time, not asking you to give me more than anybody else. Does that sound fair, Max?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, well, I think from what I've been sort of seeing during the I'll call it performance that I've seen, I think that we each, like, people have to be respectful towards Andrew, but I think that Andrew has to be respectful towards others. Let them speak. Do you think we can do that, or is that not
Shut up,
possible?
Mark. Was I talking to you? Is it your panel? I was talking to the host, Mark.
I mean, that was at least
talking to the host as well, and saying, including you as a member of the panel.
To be brutally honest, with that response, I would kick this Andrew person.
Nobody cares what you think either, Tony. So anyway, Max,
Max. Since nobody
you see what I mean?
I don't care what you think either, fuckwit. So,
wow.
Why are all of you bald? Why are all of you atheists bald? Why? Max, can you tell me why all the atheists are bald?
Reasonable conversation.
You've thrown out all claims of civility. You've thrown out all claims of civility, sir. You can't claim then that you're on some moral high ground. You've completely abandoned any social construct by which a conversation may occur, and
is that guy in a hospital bed?
So simply fuck off.
Why is there a guy in the ER in the freaking thing?
It's Issa.
He was involved in a car accident, and he's still here engaging.
Yes,
so
true.
Maximum respect for that.
What the fuck is that?
It's Issa, dude.
Well,
I don't know, Max. PhD Tony over here wants me to get kicked. Mark rage
Yeah,
quit the last debate and then came over here, even though he said he was exhausted and could barely hold his eyes open. What the fuck?
Well, I didn't say
I thought he said he
anymore.
was exhausted. He could barely hold his eyes open. He'd be going for hours.
I'm not doing this
Andrew,
again.
can
Okay,
we-
that was
can
a
we-
7-hour debate. He's being incredibly We were having a good conversation until this guy turned up.
Yeah.
We just get rid of him because he's not.
Okay,
going to
well,
be-
Max,
I'm
they all want to get rid of me,
not
Max.
So shouldn't we go to Andrew's position?
I would boot him instantly.
Andrew's opening. We went through Mark's opening. We should go.
Just fuck him off.
continue.
He's not even worth spending time on. He is a absolute nonsense. Like it's like you cannot have a decent conversation with this person round because he is not interested in an actual conversation.
Yeah, but how come you rage quit the last debate and said you were so exhausted and then you're over here?
I didn't say that. I said
You
it
did
was
say
7
that.
hours. No, I didn't say that. I said it's 7 hours. And
Max,
Mark, you make the point that there is no such thing as a Christian morality.
Yes, correct.
So there
that's
are.
that's why I wanted to have him here, because I wanted to ask
Yeah,
him.
but he can listen to
Max,
it. He doesn't need to contribute.
He cannot be civil. He can't have a conversation. He is
single.
He's absolutely
Christianity is
horrible.
not a
Get
single
rid of him.
moral framework.
I know.
Would you agree? Issa, would you agree that Christianity is not a single moral framework in any coherent or intelligible fashion?
Why are you asking Issa that question? The guy in the hospital bed?
Because
you can ask me. I can answer the question. I'll probably give a very similar answer.
Hey, by the way, what happened to you, Issa?
I had a really bad car accident.
Car crash.
Yeah.
Can Issa talk? Issa, what happened to you, bro?
So I guess we could tell the story. So I was going to a funeral. My stepfather passed away, so I was in Monk's Corner, South Carolina.
I'm very sorry to hear that, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, why don't you let him talk?
And then
you mean me giving him condolences was too much for you? You fucking bald fuck! Shut up. Let us talk. Now, Issa, go ahead. I'm sorry.
How about you just don't
shut your fucking mouth? I'm talking to this guy. Shut your fucking stupid mouth while we're having this discussion.
Stop interrupting people.
No.
Well, hang on.
I wanted to ask Andrew something, but
I don't want to be the person who
go ahead.
I don't want to be the person who defends Andrew here, but that was just like, I'm sorry to hear that you were in a car accident.
Yes, but in the middle of somebody else speaking, and I feel like we have to draw a line. If somebody else is speaking and has been asked to describe something, the expression of remorse and of condolences, which is entirely appropriate, can wait till when Issa has stopped speaking. Do you concede that?
No.
Well, can I also just add? Look.
It's an interruption on an interruption. You were interrupting somebody who was giving condolences.
I know.
To
but I'm not tolerant of his bullshit. Let's get back to Issa.
Yes, let's
stop. And I also pointed out that I asked everyone to be respectful, and I was instantly just disrespected, swore at. You know, this is. You know, he has no civility. He can't do a conversation. He can't help himself. He is a. You know, maybe he is a psychopath. He's got no idea how to have a conversation. We're having a good conversation.
So, at the risk of being we were having a good conversation, and at the risk of being overly pragmatic, he also has a fucking massive audience, and I would like, if possible, to grow Max's channel. And it is possible that there are people circling around on the edge of Andrew's audience that may or may not be sympathetic to the positions that we take. But now that he's just been kicked, you don't get, like, all they're going to do is fuck about in the chat, and they're not necessarily going to listen to what we...
They weren't going to listen anyway, and I think that this speculation is actually pointless. Can we just let Issa discuss what he was trying to say?
Either conversation is the thing that we put on the pedestal or not.
Yes, everybody disrupted the conversation about five times, trying to talk about what you want to talk about, rather than listen to Issa.
Everybody, stop. Tony, I hear you. The thing is, this is exactly the problem. That's what he wants. He wants people to argue, be divided, cause chaos, just basically cause it to drop out. Let's just take a breath. And Tony, I get where you're coming from. He's incredibly disrespectful to everybody. I think having good guests on is better than just a few people that may or may not be convinced. I think that. I do not want to engage more with the guy because he is just so rude and obnoxious. So let's have a conversation and not have some horrible person making us all fight among ourselves. So that's exactly what he wants.
Fine, but can we finally get back to letting Issa say something?
Sorry,
as we tried to start 10 minutes ago, right? Issa, I'm very sorry to hear about your dad. What happened? Your stepdad, your dad?
That's fine. It's cool. That's how I viewed him. So it was actually a longer story. So basically I went to a funeral for my housemate's niece. She was 7 years old. So that's like when the story starts, like last week. Then my mom and I were invited to go to Michigan, to go see some close friends. And we drove like 600 miles to get there. I drove most of the trip, but mom did a little bit of the trip. And then we drove back. Then I had to go work at the hospital because I have my job on Sunday. So we had to go to work. I had to go to work. Then right when I come home, I hear that my other father passed away. And he passed away amongst Corner. He actually was at this hospital that I'm at now in North Carolina. And so we traveled all the way to Monk's Corner. I drove the whole way there. And so this is like thousands of miles that I've been driving, you know?
You drove the whole way? Wait.
Yeah, I did take a couple breaks, but I mean, like, yeah, I did the distance of doing all the driving.
1,000
So
miles?
yeah, it's a
Holy
lot.
shit, dude.
It's a lot. It was heavy duty. So
Damn, respect.
thank you, I appreciate it. So then basically on the way back, we go to this place called South of the Border. It's between North and South Carolina, and we stayed the night. And I was a little bit worried about the car because the car is a bit older and it's already gone through thousands of miles of traveling. So we said we're going to check out a mechanic, but it was very hard to find a mechanic, like, you know, on the cuff. So we were looking for a mechanic in North Carolina. We had someone who kind of did some quick stuff to it, and we said, okay, we'll go. And then Mom said she wanted to take over. She wanted to drive. And I was like, Mom, you're older. I don't think you're too well. I think you need to rest. I think it's really important for you to rest. But she's like, no, I want to help you. I want to support you. I want you to take a break. You've been driving for thousands of miles. And then she kind of just went in, like when we got gas, she just kind of went in and took over. And I was like, well, c'est la vie. It's life. Such is life. And we started driving. And then an hour in, she's like, I'm
You
getting
tried to do
tired.
the right thing, but sorry.
No problem. She's like, I'm getting tired. And I was like, yeah, okay, we'll switch. But basically 5 minutes later, she kind of veers out of the lane towards the left. She kind of starts shifting it into this lane, and I don't think she's aware of it. And then what happens is she hits the car that's like next to us, and then she keeps going. She goes across the island that's like in between the cars. So we're going north on the highway. She goes into the island and crosses through onto the oncoming traffic, which is going south, right? And thank goodness we don't get T-boned, right? Like where we could just be like, it like when you get T-boned, you get destroyed, right?
Mhm.
And what happens is we just keep going and going and going, and the brakes don't work. The brakes are failing, so she like hits the tree. Like, you know, there's like, if I don't know in like other places, but in the United States you have like these forests that are next to the highways. So she hits the tree and the car capsizes, right?
Mhm.
So I basically take off my seatbelt.
Capsizes. Isn't that a term for like boats?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
no, it's upside down. It inverts.
yeah, it inverts.
The car flipped
exactly.
over upside down?
It inverts. It doesn't completely do that, but like it inverts like this. So we're like completely on the side. Like the car is on the side. I'm telling you, and it's interesting. On the way, we saw a truck that did the same thing. It was horrific. It was like a horror movie. I'm like an action movie, horror movie. Like literally was that. I'm not even done yet. So basically, the car hits. I get my seatbelt off, so I kind of, slide to the bottom of the car, to where the passenger's window is. And then my mom, she doesn't have her seatbelt on. She falls on top of me. So basically,
Sorry, can I ask, like, you got your seatbelt undone? Did the pretensioners go off? Like, how the hell did you get the seatbelt undone? Because those things like fucking lock in.
No, this is an older car. This is like an older car.
Go off?
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is, you can push the button and it comes out.
Wait,
it's
what
not
are
a new car.
the pretensioners?
So modern cars with airbags and things, we've got explosive charges in the seatbelts.
Listen, all I want to know, what's the word you said?
A pretensioner.
Okay, we in America we actually have modern technology, so we don't have whatever that is. Like things.
I would like to think that you had modern technology, but with regards to car safety,
so
it's
again, this series of interruptions is as fascinating as it might be for aficionados of automotive safety.
Wait a second, Issa wasn't done. Tony, Issa wasn't done, man. Politely.
So the basic.
No, it was. I was purely just curious about like just pushing the seatbelt because that doesn't happen here. Like once you're pinned in.
No, this is an older car, so that was fine. That was actually probably one of the problems we had.
Everything in America just works. You don't have to have like.
Can you not interrupt him, mate?
Oh my god.
So this is when it gets really rough. So basically, the car turns to the side. Mom falls on top of me, and then I feel this warm sensation over my face, and it smells bad. And I'm like, oh my god, it's blood. So like I start touching, and I feel this huge stream of blood down my face, right? And then I felt my head. I'm like, there's this gash on my head, right? And like my glasses are gone. As you can see, I don't have them here. And I can't really move. I've never broken a bone in my body in my entire life, right? So this is like a new experience for me. And I'm entrapped in this car, and my mom's on top of me. She's sitting on top of me. And
kind of hot.
Oh, sunflower, for fuck's sake.
Sunflower.
So basically what happens is all these people start to run to us because
What is
like,
wrong with you?
because people care, right? Like they run to the car and they're like, can you unlock the door? And I'm like trying to, and I realize because like my arm is starting to hurt too, this particular arm, because my scapula is broken, which is like my wing bone. So basically I try to pull out and I'm trying to get to unlock the door, and I can't do it because I'm really, first of all, I'm probably fatigued from the thousands of miles traveled, right? And it's very difficult to just unlock the door. So I was like, oh my gosh, we're stuck here. And then I start seeing the, kind of smoke coming from like the steering wheel. And I'm like, uh-oh, I hope this isn't going to be like crash where our car explodes, So they're like, we're going to get EMS. So they called the EMS, right? So they came in like 20, 30 minutes, and they use these tools.
Did you say 20 or 30 minutes?
Yeah, because we're in Hicksville. We're not like in the United States. You have places that are like Hicksville. Like it's not. You don't just have access like immediately to like the EMS. It takes time when you're like in the boondock areas.
No, that's fair enough. You're in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
So what happened was they use their devices and they open up the windshield, and I cover my mom's eyes so the glass doesn't get in, and like they put a tarp on us, and so they open up the windshield. They open up the back, so like basically the car is getting completely utterly destroyed, right? And then ultimately they like saw the top half of the car off. I'm not joking. All of this, it's like crazy, and they pull my mom out. My mom's hand was mangled. She's in the same hospital as me. Her hand is mangled, and her foot got messed up too. So she has a couple surgeries. But what happened was she kind of landed on my leg. Here, I'll show you. Like you could see my leg here. So that's my leg right there. I have an external fixator on it.
No.
So I'm kind of stuck with that. It makes things a little bit hard, but my tibia is broken. It's like a lower bone. So she kind of fell on my leg, so that got broken. Then I kind of got crushed in the car, so my wing bone got broken as well. But I felt really good because like I was able to save my mom's life. Like she landed on me, and that kind of protected her from, because she's older. Like my mom's close to 80, so
she was also falling from higher, so having something to
exactly.
land on.
Well,
exactly.
Without wanting to denigrate your mother, tough old bird.
Oh, to what?
It's what we'd call in the UK. It's what we call a tough old bird.
A tough old bird. Oh, I got it. Yeah.
She's robust.
Yeah.
She's smiling and she's strong. But yeah, basically what happened was she was able to live and survive, and we made it through. And they pulled us out. We were on stretchers, and it was the most painful experience because like anytime I moved my leg, it felt like 10,000 knives were stabbing it, and I was like, this pain is instrumental, but it taught me about empathy. I'm like, when I hear people screaming in the hospital, I'm like, I know why they're screaming, because they have broken bones, and it's like it is deeply painful, and like even moving just like an inch takes countless energy. But basically that's the story. We got pulled out, we got brought to the hospital was like 30-45 minutes away, so that's like another long distance of time that was taken. So
well, dude, I'm freaking impressed by you that you had the ability to, despite all that, come on and still like have rational conversation, not only to elucidate your experience, but like actually put forward like thoughts on a political panel, dude. That is freaking like major props, dude. That is not everyone could do that. A lot of people would like just shut down and kind of like go into a cocoon, but like you're actually here and you're like discussing like real shit, dude. That is freaking major props, dude. That is super impressive, man.
Drunk Batman for $5 says condolences to Issa. Tony, shut up. All right, let's get back into it. Andrew Wilson's opening, and since you haven't spoken yet, I'll hand it over to Tony.
Okay, so I have to admit that I came in here not understanding, not having seen the debate, but I know I have seen Andrew Wilson's before, and what he glosses over is exactly what I was saying before. He pretends that there is some sort of formal, official Christian morality that he aggressively refuses to define properly. And it's just built on lies. There is no single interpretation of Christianity. There's no single version of their holy text. There's no agreed upon translation or preserved version of their holy text. It's highly variable. And even if there were, there are thousands of different interpretations of the versions of the text. So the myth that Christianity has a single moral code it's simply a lie. And my experience of him previously is that he just likes to go on the offensive and insist on other people defending their position. In my experience, he doesn't make much of a positive case for his position.
Well, I would agree that he insists that other people defend their position, but I have to be honest, I don't think Andrew actually argues for sort of like a monolith of Christian faith. And again, I don't agree with him. I disagree with him quite vociferously, but I don't think that he argues that Christianity is some kind of monolith. He very distinctly points to, he's not a Protestant, he's not Methodist. He categorically states that he's Orthodox. And in the discussion that we were having just a minute ago, or the debate that happened, Mark referenced the issues with the Orthodox Greek Church, and Andrew seems to take some. I don't know if he took issue with it, but he obviously didn't support it. So I'm not sure. Arguing that atheism is a monolith or secular humanism is a monolith, and then arguing that he has to argue from a monolithic position himself. I would think that's the position that he's taking.
So to be brutally fair, I have seen enough of Wilson to know that he argues that his version of Christianity is the only correct one.
The correct one, yes.
So he argues that he doesn't accept diversity within his position. He asserts that there is only one correct Christianity, and it is his.
Yeah, from his position. But isn't that the case of anybody who takes a position on anything?
No. You and I, as you've been pointing out through your sustained discussion of grey areas, there are points at which we can diverge on moral decisions. I'm not going to say that I'm right. I'm not going to say that necessarily you're wrong. But on the major moral issues, we can reach some form of consensus, and they're the ones that really count. But there are plenty of issues where I'm perfectly content to say I don't really know the right answer to the moral conundrum. That's very different from what.
Yeah.
That's very different from what Mr. Wilson seems to suggest, which is that he does know, and that he's fucking right.
The only reason why I was trying to keep him on is because I had questions, and
I
had questions too, and
we won't get the answers.
To be brutally honest, you weren't going to get answers, and I think both of you know that.
Right? No, I know I wasn't going to get an answer.
You're going to get responses.
I know
I was going to get answers.
I know I wasn't going to get an answer, but I was in a unique position of having the ability to force him to answer my question or shut him the fuck up.
So I'm not convinced that's the case.
Emma gifted 5 memberships, and they went to Evil Toe, X Forbidden One, Wesley, Grand Leonard, Bubba Sweat, and Nidian. Now, yes, and if you want to give us your thoughts on Andrew's opening while you're at it, go ahead.
So, no, it's fine. Look, I'm not convinced. I know that Andrew is a good rhetorician, That is absolutely the case. He also brings with him an entourage in the chats, in the twats. Sorry, excuse the pun. In the chats, that obviously, like, he just sort of like wants to dominate that position. But I'm not convinced that he's not sincere, and there does seem to be an argument with regards to people that, when people debate with Andrew, that he's sort of like not sincere, and I don't necessarily think that's the case. So, for example, what who was it that we had from MDD, the other host?
Ryan.
Yeah, and I actually
Or
very much, yeah, but it was Ryan. Now that I remember,
okay.
Ryan's position was that, much like the flat Earth chap from my island, bless him, has like a debate persona. I think that Andrew has a debate persona too, but with regards to Andrew, I do get the distinct feeling that he actually endorses his position. Like, I do think that when he uses derogatory language towards women, I think that's a debate tactic. I think that he thinks that his worldview is better for humanity as a whole, and he's going to endorse it and argue for it. But I don't think that means that he would subjugate his wife or his daughters, if that makes sense. I can't quite vocalize it in a particularly concise way, but
so you think that he is to some extent sort of parodying and using outrage-generating phrases as debate tactics, but he is genuinely committed to his worldview being better for humanity.
Yes.
That's not a tactic too, but he uses the most dishonest tactics in which to do so.
It's not a tactic. That's literally a fallacy. And
what's the fallacy?
Too. The fallacy is ad hominem, personal attacks, like calling people assholes and stuff. Like, come on, Max, you did it too. Come on.
No,
well, it's like
this is a common lie that people tell because they don't understand what an ad hominem fallacy. If I say Issa is gay, therefore he can't be trusted.
Wow.
That's an ad hominem fallacy.
An ad hominem fallacy is calling somebody absolutely disgusting for their beliefs.
No, it isn't.
You know?
That isn't an ad hominem.
That's an insult. Oh my God.
That's an insult. An ad hominem fallacy is using somebody's properties. Even the claim, say, Max lied to me last week, therefore what he's saying now is a lie. That's an ad hominem fallacy.
Well, can we agree that calling somebody
can't, because I'm still talking. Saying that, using the characteristics of a person and saying that because the person has those characteristics, therefore their argument is wrong, or therefore they have some other undesirable property, that is an ad hominem fallacy.
Okay, well, regardless, can we agree that calling somebody absolutely disgusting doesn't add to the debate whatsoever?
It could be true. I don't know.
Even if it is true, what does it have to do with the issue? You know.
So an ad hom can be true, but it doesn't relate to the subject at discussion.
That's for example, what I'm saying.
Yeah. So, for example, when Andrew made the jibe, why do all atheists appear to be bold? Like, if we were all atheists, or if he'd let me rephrase that. If Andrew had said, why are all the people on this panel that are atheists bold? Well, that would be, it doesn't relate to the debate, but it could be true. But it's actually false, which means it's not an ad hominem, because I'm not an atheist, I'm an agnostic. And also, I'm not bald. You just can't see the hair on the back of my head. So,
if we're counting hair on the back of the head, I'm not bald either.
Well, exactly. So,
I'm not bald either.
I am.
It's an incredibly long way of me saying that, like, the discussion around ad hominem doesn't really add anything to the debate. An insult is an insult. An ad hom is an ad hom. Like, I don't really get where we're going here.
Well, I think if you're sort of some insults have the implicit ad hominem with them. If you're saying, "Hey, you're stupid," kind of thing, there is the implicit suggestion that because you are stupid, you shouldn't believe your argument, kind of thing, and that may not even be true. It's just, why stoop to that level? And you are trying to attack someone's character.
But with regards to an argument, I would tend to agree. There is no number of IQ points there's no number of IQ points that can be attached to a doxastic.
We're getting in the weed. Let's dial everything back. Let's try to get on topic. Okay, listen, I understand getting in the weed sometimes on minutia, but let's all take a deep breath. Okay, topic, boom, 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 reel it back in.
Go back.
Better for society, secular humanism versus Christian, whatever. I think we just got a little too in the weeds there. I'm not singling out anyone.
I agree. That's why I brought that up. I think we're getting too personal here. Let's get back to the issues, right? That's the whole point I was trying to make.
Well, we're on Andrew's opening, so we have to.
We're on Andrew's opening.
We got to finish talking about Andrew's opening.
Specs.
A 7-hour debate. I mean, by the time we're done with about the opening,
that will just be the Q&A. We'll cover that in the Q&A.
So in the previous lifetime, that was Andrew Wilson and Mark Reid's opening. Andrew Wilson he just insulted people. He just does his usual, what I like to call he does a lot of reductio ad absurdums, of course, like he did the entire fucking debate. It was a terrible opening statement. Obviously, I don't think he had a presentation. And it was terrible. And it only went downhill from there.
He does reductios, but the problem is that he always reduces stuff to like a hyper-specific single instance that is like, in that instance, in the very infinitesimal instance, you are right, and then makes a general argument out of the 1 in a million chance thing.
That's hasty generalization, right?
Yeah, that is just wild.
Well, his reduction. Sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry, Ty. I just I'm gonna go. I do have a couple of things to do today. I sorry I couldn't hang around longer. I know I promised you that I'd hang around, Max. I'm sorry I can't hang around longer.
It was you
Mark,
wouldn't expect 7 hours.
Sorry, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
I gotta be honest. We let a lot of people just talk about a lot of bullshit. I wish we could have actually engaged with shit more while Mark was still here. Time is precious. We literally just bullshitted for 30 minutes about nothing. Why? Just because some sort of
good thing you're continuing that trend, eh?
It happens.
Well, in fairness to Sunflower, I don't think we bullshit about nothing. Conversations do tend to meander a little bit. That does tend to happen here. But if you want,
now Mark's gone. So
how much? He's done a debate for 7 hours and he's hung around here for nearly an hour. I mean, I don't know.
The point is, we had Mark for a limited amount of time, and the time we had him here, we literally did not.
And now you're going to waste our time whining.
Yes.
First time.
Yes.
Either you have something that you want to discuss or you don't.
Hey, Tony, you let Issa talk for 10 minutes about his car accident.
If you don't and you just want to whine, shut up.
Hey, Tony, you let Issa talk for 10 minutes about his car accident.
Well, yes, Sunflower, yes. Issa is part of the team, and we were all interested in...
I'm calling out Tony.
Tony is in attack mode for some reason.
I'm in attack mode for multiple reasons here. One is that sort of I wanted to hear Issa's story, and then he got interrupted. Then he got interrupted. Then he got interrupted. And one of the people who made the most egregious interruptions was Sunflower, who wanted to talk about the distinctions between American and English fucking motor vehicles. So, then he wants to come down and whine about how we've been wasting time.
Tony,
you're part of the reason for it.
All right, Max, can I move on?
Tony, First things first. I don't. Again, you're now in attack mode, and you're attacking the wrong person. It was me who raised the distinction between safety standards between the United States and the United Kingdom.
No, actually, it wasn't.
I think John is the most.
What you raised was free functioning and seatbelts, which I agree is an interruption.
That was me. That was
yes,
me.
I know. I just said it was you. Are you not listening to what I said?
Stop. Specs. Thoughts on Andrew's opening.
I
gave you Issa.
Yeah, I just gave it.
Yes.
All right. So actually, what was interesting. It was actually Andrew had asked me about the accident. So that's actually why we started talking about it. That's how it started. So I think when you're dealing with Andrew, you have to understand that I don't know. I know people might not like him, but I think he's a master rhetorician. This is why he has the Crucible show. This is why he's on whatever, and this is why he's famous. He's in what he does, he's very brilliant at what he does. You may not like him, but he's very charismatic and he's very charming at what he does. And what he does is he's able to kind of simplify and engage what he thinks is ethical and moral, and he's able to really kind of unravel his opponent's argument. Daniel Hakikachu does that as well. They have this skill of doing that, where they can unravel the opponent's position and say, well, look at the limitations of your position. Look at my position. It's very simple, and it's coherent, and it works. Your position, it falls apart. And he did that here, too, in his opening. He didn't have a presentation, I think, because he felt very confident that he could basically just kind of dismantle and, unravel his opponent's position, or Mark's position in this case. And and I've seen this a lot. I've seen this particular position a lot, and it's a very difficult position to oppose. You have to be really prepared to understand the different kinds of nuances, and you have to understand that he has Christianity as a part of it, but that's not just what it is. It's like American, frontierism. It's a lot of these things mixed together. It's all these kind of elements that are combined together that produce Andrew's argument, and it does look appealing, particularly to audiences who are like, who feel that our society is kind of in decay. He's kind of like this hero, this voice of reason that's getting us out of the kind of decay that like ethical, moral decay that we're in. And I think that is the thing that you have to like really engage. You have to engage the entire holistic element of what Andrew represents. And that's hard. I think it's a very difficult situation to engage with. So
the problem is he represents nothing. We know nothing about his position, and even if you manage to get him on his position, he's wrong. He does not follow the morality of the Bible. He doesn't follow that. The other day, the last debate, he said, well, I don't follow, that's the old Jewish law. I follow Jesus's law. Which law is that? The 10 Commandments. Fuck, that is a Old Testament. You just contradicted yourself. And even if you go with the Old Testament, you choose the 10 Commandments over the other 613 in total laws. Why just those 10? Why do you feel like you just need to discard the law? No one can answer that.
Yeah, and I have to be honest with you, Max.
I can answer that.
I don't get it. Like there.
Can I answer that real quick?
Yes. 1 second. Super quick.
John, so real quick.
The Old Testament requires the New Testament.
Okay.
For Christianity, surely, because there are is it not the case, Sunflower, that there are like premonitions or predictions?
I want to answer Max's question.
That justify the existence of Christ being the Son of God. Surely that has to be the case.
Can I answer Max's question?
Well, yeah. I would love you to answer mine after that.
Very simple. Okay, so let's put it this way. People who identify as Christian and proclaim to believe in Christianity have a better impact on society
than whom?
Than people that don't. It's that simple. It doesn't really matter. They could all be hypocrites. But for some reason... Hold on. I'll finish my claim to respond. Whether or not they're all crazy, delusional, they contradict each other, they don't adhere to the text. Again, why is it that there's still some sort of measurable, outcome that at least people that even just claim to believe in Christianity, this demographic is so much more charitable and has such a better impact on advancing human rights for society throughout time than people that don't. You can point out a million contradictions, but there is a unifying factor here in that even just the idea, whether they're contradict each other or not, that seems to actually boost everyone. The rising tide raises all boats. You know what I mean?
Number one, that didn't answer my question. And number two, if you're going to make that claim, start sending me papers.
Okay. I just wanted to say really quick. I personally identify as agnostic, but I think that Sunflower has a point in that whether or not they follow their moral compass or their laws or whatever, it at least exists for them, and there's a fear of some kind of punishment that's keeping at least some of them from committing some kind of horrendous acts. Now, that's not to say that horrendous acts.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You're very smart, Issa.
In the name
I think you're the smartest guy I've ever seen on this panel.
Thank you.
That wasn't Issa speaking. That was Chuck. But still,
obviously, people die for religion every day. It still happens today.
Oh shit! I'm sorry. I misjudged that.
But hang on.
You sound just like.
But what I'm saying is, at least the religious people have that fear instilled in them to behave because there is a punishment afterwards. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, and that was actually
no, sir, I don't, because I don't do what is right simply out of fear of the consequences. Sunflower, you've got your opportunity to talk.
Okay,
I get to respond to the nonsense that was disputed by both of you. I don't do the right thing out of fear. I don't do the right thing because I am afraid. I do it because I want to do the right thing.
Well, of course, so do I, Tony. I'm just saying that I'm using it as an example for some people because for some people that is the case.
Or are most people like barbarians, in your opinion?
Most people are not barbarians because the definition of barbarian is an extremely technical one that you are not familiar with.
Charitable about my question. Do you think most people are able, like you, to have that rational of an approach to their actions, or is everyone in prison for literally scamming everyone else and killing each other at all times?
Everyone. So even in the US, which has an insanely high incarceration rate, around 1% of the population is in prison. So that suggests that 99% of the population does not commit crimes. Yes, and in fact, this question was addressed by the economist Adam Smith. The economist Adam Smith. I'm still talking, answering your question. The economist Adam Smith analyzed this question and determined that society would not work if most people were inherently malicious. In order for society
doesn't work in a lot of places. Have you been to Africa?
You're not showing. You're an excellent advertisement for your religion in that you try to shut down and yell over people who have opinions contrary to yours. Society is not falling apart. Society is not crumbling, and these are just lies that reactionaries like to tell.
Are you kidding? There's parts of the world where society is non-existent. You ever been to Africa?
Oh, so it's true in all of Africa, is it?
I'm asking you. Is there a civilized society in Africa? You tell me.
Yes, Chuck, there is civilized society.
Really?
Chuck, you're trying to make an argument here with regards to quote unquote civilized society without identifying what civilized society is. Firstly,
that's Sunflower, not me. Sorry, just wanted to point that out. The civilized society.
It?
That was Sunflower.
It's Sunflower.
Apologies,
stupid things.
Well, the argument is regardless, it's the same. I do apologize, Chuck. The distinction between what is quote unquote a civilized society is judged by Western standards. Now, Africa is a fucking continent. I think there are somewhere in the region of like 45 or 48 countries in Africa, like Egypt. Like my wife has spent some time there as a neonatal nurse, and like dealing with premature born children. They absolutely are and do have civilized cultures in Africa. They're just not Western cultures.
Would you live in the Congo or Sudan?
Well, no, but much as a lot of other cultures wouldn't want to live outside of their culture. That doesn't mean that
everyone in Africa would live everywhere else.
No, that's just wrong.
No,
that's not at all true.
That is absolutely
that's just wrong, man.
You guys are in denial, dude. You can't just deny reality and cross your fingers.
No, people don't just want to leave their country of
origin. This is why the Democrats are failing so miserably, dude. You guys just reject reality.
Well,
why? Do you think you're going to get a pat on the back? Like at some point,
what is the population of Africa? And what was it 10 years ago?
Go to Sudan.
Sunflower, you're making shit up.
Go to Sudan and tell me that you can just live like normally, like there's nothing. What are you talking about? You ever been to Sudan?
Have you been to Sudan?
Go to Sudan.
Have you been to Sudan?
Yeah, it's not a very nice place to live.
Have you been to Sudan?
It's not a very nice place to live.
Sunflower, have you been to Sudan?
Yes, once.
When?
Once.
It's not a very nice place to live.
When?
Okay.
Google it.
Fine. There are plenty of not nice places to live.
Just Google
I would argue that the US is a not
live.
nice place to live,
Yeah,
largely because of the efforts of Christians to make it a less nice place to live.
Christians made Sudan bad?
No, I'm saying that Christians are making the US a less nice place to live.
The place that everyone immigrates
to go there.
The most immigrated to country on earth.
Tony, that's a vast generalization. Not
Tony, the most immigrated country to on earth, Christians are messing up, and everyone's still. It's from all.
Define most. How are you defining that?
What do you mean? It's not even disputed. America is the most immigrated.
So no, you need to tell me. Are you working on raw numbers?
America
or are you working
is the most
as a percentage
immigrated
of the
to country on earth.
Are you using the raw numbers? Tony, or are you using a proportion of the population? Is it normalized against population? Because actually, Lebanon's population is 25% refugees.
Yes. Now we know you're just lying.
Okay. So Lebanon has vastly more refugees go to it as a portion of the population rather than yes. So what you're doing is you're using the raw numbers, aren't you?
Tony, do people cross oceans to go to Lebanon?
Shut up! Look,
no, John. Let me ask Tony one question. One question, Tony.
One.
John, I promise one question. John, one question. Tony, do people cross oceans to go to Lebanon?
It doesn't matter.
No. John, shut your mouth. Tony, do people cross oceans to go to Lebanon?
Sunflower.
No, they don't. Because Lebanon, allow me to finish the question. Because Lebanon, allow me to finish the question, mate. Let me finish the answer before you get to say anything.
Okay, Tony, speak.
Can we answer the question, Tony?
Look.
Oceans
so
to go to
Lebanon does not. Lebanon.
Okay, please stop.
For the love of Christ.
There was so much screaming during the debate. We need to calm down.
Do people cross oceans to go to America?
Sunflower, shut up.
Yes or no?
It doesn't matter.
Yes,
Look,
it matters. It's the whole argument.
No,
it's the whole
argument. You're talking for the love of Christ. Like
no,
you're talking
do people
about.
Cross oceans to go to America? Yes or no?
Sunflower. Tony is doing his best to be quiet.
I'm not going to let you.
And you're
you
not.
have to answer this question. I'm holding your feet to the fire. It is the core.
Can you please mute this fuckwit while I answer the question?
Do people cross oceans to go to America or Lebanon?
Look,
Lebanon doesn't. Lebanon does not have a coastline in an ocean.
For the love of Christ.
Lebanon does not have a coastline that is in an ocean.
I'm talking about Southeast Asia comes to America. What are you talking about? They fly here because that's how much they want to come here. No one flies to Lebanon from foreign countries to immigrate there.
Yes, they do.
bad liar. You are a fucking bad faith loser.
Yes,
dude.
they do.
No, you are
they
lying.
do fly to Lebanon.
You lying bitch. You are a lying bitch, is what you are, dude.
Look,
you are a lying bitch, is what you are, dude. Google it.
We
People
heard
fly to
you.
America from everywhere on Earth to start a new life.
We heard you, and your argument is still wrong.
Right there,
dumbass.
So,
look,
America has coastlines in oceans. Lebanon doesn't.
We're talking about airports, you fucking idiot. What are you talking about? Coastlines.
You asked about crossing oceans in order to get to a country.
Flying over.
Lebanon does not adjoin an ocean.
Flying over oceans, you fucking dumb shit.
Okay.
People from every corner of Earth fly to America to start a new life. Why are they not all flying to Lebanon?
Many of them do.
Many of them do.
Many of them do. Yes, many people do fly to Lebanon.
You fucking lying bad faith retard. No one's flying to Lebanon from fucking like Thailand.
No,
you didn't say from Thailand. Not how many people are flying. How many immigrants come from Thailand in a year?
What is crossing an ocean? Why does everyone fly to America from the far?
Everyone flies to America.
What immigrated to?
Yeah, Sunflower. This is literally a stupid argument.
It's not even just Sunflower.
You're letting your friend get away with bullshit here, dude.
Oh, for fuck's sake, John! Can you shut up? You've actually been talking. It was you. You're right.
Honestly,
you've interrupted people much more than Sunflower has. And can you leave it to the moderator to fucking moderate his channel?
I agree with Tony on this, John. Shut the fuck up, John. Shut the fuck up. You're not helping, dude.
We all need to calm down a bit.
John, shut the fuck up, John. You're not helping. You're just bullshitting, dude.
Let's just have a relaxed conversation.
You're not talking about the same thing.
No, people fly to America.
We're well spotted.
I'll sum up my point in 10 seconds. People fly to and immigrate to America from every corner of the earth because of how great of a country it is. No one is flying to Lebanon from fucking the slums of the Philippines to start their new life. Everyone goes to America because it's the best country on earth, even if it means flying over the fucking Pacific or Atlantic Ocean. That was my point. Stop making coastline bullshit arguments. Either you didn't understand or you're just lying. That's it. Done. Thank you.
England and France per capita have more migration than the United States. So does that mean that they're better countries?
That's wrong. Show me your stats. You're lying. Show me your stats.
Per capita.
Show me your stats right now or you're lying to my face.
Well, show me your stats.
If you just lied to my face, I will actually have you fucking arrested in your own stupid little house. And I'm serious, dude.
Per capita.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah, you're losing the plot, Sunflower. You're losing the plot.
Our population in the United Kingdom is 66 million people.
Show me your stats right now, or I will have you locked up.
One in 60 people in the UK
right now
comes into the UK. Okay, the ONS.
Yes, your mouth. I want to see.
Sunflower. It's the Office of National Statistics.
Show me your numbers.
In the United Kingdom.
Stop talking. Show me the actual proof.
What do you mean, Bolly? I've just told you it's the Office of National Statistics in the United Kingdom.
So let me bring some statistics into this. Okay. I have some stats.
Brain?
Do you want to hear some stats?
You know that statistics exist on the internet, you fucking idiot. You can post them. What are you talking like? You don't know how to post. You don't know how to post like information. What do you? I've
literally lost track of the number of insane claims that you've made.
You're confused about me asking you for literal proof. You're like, how would I post proof?
I'm not confused.
Okay, post it then. You fucking idiot. Post it now. No, stop talking. Zip
for National Statistics.
Zip it, John. You can't stop fucking yapping. Less talking, more posting proof. You fucking yapper.
You're going to do the same when
yap, John.
When you make your outlandish claims, you're going to do the same, right?
Less talking, more posting. Thank you, John.
When you make your outlandish claims, you're also going to post your evidence, correct?
What's the outlandish claim I made?
Oh, I've lost track. But I'll pick you up on the next
allow me
one.
to remind you of the outlandish. Allow me to remind you. He claimed that everyone is going to America. So if there exists a single person outside of America, that is just a lie. There is a. He has also claimed that America is the most immigrated to country in the world. That's a lie. And I can put up here the list of countries by net immigration rate. Let's put it in the chat.
Please do.
List of sovereign states by net migration rate.
Yeah, did you sort
this? You can order it. You can order it. You can order it by so this is net migration. So this is in order of
why is America
people that migrate to Poland people who migrate to these countries.
Why is Poland number 1 and America's number 2? Tell me. Why do you think Poland blows everyone else out of the water?
I'll tell you that. It's because Poland allows a lot of refugees from Ukraine who are going to Poland.
Border dispute, you fucking lying pieces of shit, dude.
It's not a fucking border dispute, dumbass.
You are all liars. You think that
you said that America has the top rate, and it doesn't, does it?
You fucking retard.
America is not the most migrated country in the world, is it?
Bad faith faggot. You are fucking lying.
There we
go. Also, I would point out that these are just raw numbers as opposed to net migration per 1,000 people, which, as John was saying, is the correct metric to be using, the per capita rate. That would be the more accurate. Figure to be using, and America isn't even in the top 10 when you rate by that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Issa told me he wanted to finish with Andrew's opening, so Issa, go ahead.
We got a little bit into a different conversation from there. So one reason for people who are watching the channel, I think people don't know this, but when the F word is used, it's like a big no-no on the channel. So that's a thing
fuck you too, Issa. Oh no, wait.
That triggers particularly. Max gets very triggered by that word. So that's a word that if you're coming on the panel, just don't use that word. You're going to get kicked off by Max.
I guess it's in the same way as in the UK. Like that word means like it's a certain type of like meal or like a cigarette. In the same way as like BBC in the UK means something very different than it means like in, I don't know, Pornhub.
So with the rest of the opening argument, I think this is the thing is, yes, what PhD Tony said is correct, but about that it's not exactly, and Max, it's not necessarily a textual version of Christianity, but we have to look at Christianity through an anthropological lens. We can't just look at it through a literalistic lens. This is an interesting thing because I've watched a lot of God logic videos, and he kind of does that with Islam. He looks at Islam as this literalistic text. He looks at the Quran as a literalistic text. You can't really look at religion like that. You can't just read the book and understand the religion. It's a lot more complex and it's a lot more nuanced. That's why people get PhDs in religion, because it's a very complex field. Just like any kind of science, this is as a social science, like studying religion is very, like it's where I've dedicated my life to, is studying religion, academically speaking. And it's very hard. There's linguistic things that you have to learn. There's hermeneutics you have to learn. There's a lot of skill sets you have to learn when you're studying religion. So PhD Tony had asked me this earlier about like, is Christianity a monolith? And I would say absolutely not. It's not. And that's why he was asking me, because he knew that this is my field, is that religion is. And Sunflower doesn't know that. He didn't know that my background is academically within religion. And that's why PhD Tony asked me this question.
Yeah. Also, Sunflower, with respect to Issa, doesn't understand almost any nuanced position.
I'm just saying that's what my understanding of this. So this is what happened. This is when Andrew was here too, when PhD Tony was asking this question. And it is complex, but we have to understand where I think Andrew's perspective of Christianity comes from. It's sort of this fusion of like manifest destiny, Americanism, And it also, I understand why he goes to Orthodox Christianity, because it's a rite that's ancient. It's not like Protestant Christianity, which is kind of new. Catholicism and Orthodox Christianity have this kind of ancient lineage that they can hold on to. So if you listen to Andrew, he's a lot more sympathetic towards more Catholic, the Catholic rite, than he would be to Protestantism, because he definitely thinks that the Catholic Church has corruption, obviously, because there was a falling out between the Eastern Rite and the West Rite, the Catholic, the patriarchs of the Orthodox Christianity versus the Pope and Catholicism. And PhD Tony knows about the Catholic tradition, because he spent a lot of his life with that.
When Andrew was on the channel earlier, I would have loved to have had a chat and a discussion with him. I don't expect that it would have gone well, because obviously I'd have been having this discussion from the perspective of the Protestant Church of England angle, and Andrew would fucking hate that. He would really attack me for that.
I can to some extent defend the Christian/Orthodox position, and identify what they would see as weaknesses in Protestantism, in that the Catholic/Orthodox tradition does not hold the Bible as the ultimate source of authority. There have been subsequent divine revelations to patriarchs, to saints, to various theologians, and sort of the Protestant fixation on the Bible as the only source of divine wisdom or divine revelation comes across as a weakness in that sense. So, on the other hand, the Protestants would see that as a reversion to a more natural Christianity that alleviates much of the corruption that was manifest in the Catholic Church of the late Middle Ages.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird cultural phenomenon where sort of like the Protestants have become, largely speaking, like the more welcoming and inclusive part of like Christianity, but at the same time they're also the ones that are more willing to say that you're not a real Christian. So it's a weird thing, but yeah, I agree completely.
That's also by design, though, too, right? Because one of the things that Protestants, they question is that tradition, that human tradition that is tied to quote unquote apostolic succession, which is one of the things that we challenge, which is, again, that's what I was bringing up earlier. That's what I was trying to talk about, was the intersubjectivity within those churches. I'm not saying that apostolic succession is subjective, but a lot of those conversations that are being had in the church would be subjective. But ultimately, as a Protestant, I would believe that's based on objective truth, ultimately.
So, to continue a little bit, this is actually very interesting, the parallel between this and Islamic tradition. You have the Sufi-Salafi divide, right? So Sufis were like the ancient kind of Muslim tradition. They believe in saints in the same way, very similar to Orthodox and Catholics. They believe that, people can gain, that there's these kind of divine emanations that people can get afterwards. It's not just the text, You have these sages and you have these saints who are able to garner this information. And so, like, Catholics and Orthodox and Sufis they get along pretty well in this kind of department of stuff. Like in ecumenical dialogue, this can work. But what's interesting is Protestants are very similar. Like certain, because see, you mentioned the Protestants of England, but in a lot of ways, the what is it called? The Anglican Church is very, it's like, I call it Catholic light. The Anglican Church is like an
Episcopalian. It is. Yeah,
it's Catholic light. It pretty much has all the Catholic tradition, but King Henry VIII couldn't, divorce his wife, so he got very upset and he, stormed out. But basically, he didn't really change the tradition that much. He just said, "Well, I'm going to change slight variants of this thing," and it's basically.
I need to change this bit for my utilitarian needs right now. Therefore, that
exactly. So I can get my divorce.
It's also worth pointing out a couple of things. One, Henry VIII died a Catholic. He was administered the last rites on his deathbed. Two, there was a lot of sort of political motivations going on. Catholic nations versus Protestant nations, and various power structures going on there that sort of fed into it. But a lot of the Protestants that ended up going to America really didn't like the Anglican interpretation.
Well, it was interesting actually. Like in the UK, when the Church of England started endorsing female or women ministers, there was actually a huge move. As much as like everybody born in the United Kingdom, because we are a nation with a national religion, unless you opt out of it, you're considered to be in it. But there was actually a huge move from the Church of England to the Catholic Church when the Church of England endorsed female ministers, because there were a huge number of people who literally believe this, that they were under the position that you cannot stand in persona Christi if you're a woman, because obviously Jesus Christ was a male. So they moved to the Catholic Church, which hadn't endorsed female ministry. So,
I actually knew an Anglican priest who converted to Catholicism
for that reason, probably.
For that very reason, yeah.
But basically, to continue this kind of interesting point, like thinking about the Protestant Christianity, and I was thinking about Salafi Islam, there is an issue here, and I think it's a valid issue where it's like you're saying, well, I'm following just the text, and you're like, well, we're going to cut out the middleman. We don't need, the saints and the sages. We don't need these people here. We don't need this other connection because we can go right to the text. The problem is you're going to create another kind of class of saints. And they do. Like, you go to mega churches, these pastors of like Hillsong Church becomes the saint. These people become saints, and it's very fascinating because I think we as people want that. We have a craving for that. We want these kind of leaders and these spiritual guides that we can connect to. So they might take on a different form. They wear a suit and tie. They don't wear a robe, right? And live in a cave as a monk, but they wear a suit and a tie and they look very nice and they say, sow a seed today, sow a seed for $1,000. Like, we're going to have some kind of thing that we need to connect to because it's a kind of a human craving.
We also view that. Sorry, so we also view that kind of religiosity as new, like, but it's not. Like the churches were built on what was it? I forget what it's called now. It's going to drive me mad. But the number of parents who had like children that died, and they were told, well, if you pay this much money to the church, then
indulgences, various forms of
indulgences. Yes, thank you. And this is just like the new version of that. It takes what I would like to think was an original sincerity of like a religion. As much as I don't believe it, I would like it to at least think that it had some kind of like sincerity in its origination.
I agree with that.
And it turns it into this like horrific commercialized, in the same way as like we celebrate Christmas and Easter and birthdays. Like there's nothing sincere about this bullshit. It's completely commercialized.
I agree.
It is nowadays, and I mean, but to some extent, it always was. When the Egyptians realized that the Egyptians used to have a year that was 360 days long, and then they realized, well, that's not actually how long a year is, and so they but it was convenient. You could have 12 30-month days, 360 days. And then they decided that they would have 5 feast days at the end of the year, so that it was a 365-day long year, and it was just something that they did out of administrative convenience. And a lot of the things that we've ended up with in our culture are administrative convencences. It's
cultures
kind of
are
nice.
Cultures are on cultures. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, to look at your point, to address your point about sincerity, yes, a lot of people are very sincere about their religions. And I mean, this is one of the things. I don't think that it's very constructive to argue that a religion is false, because most religious experience, and for me personally, when I was of a religious mindset, I had experiences that I thought were very real of a relationship with God, and coming up as somebody outside of that personal experience and just saying to somebody, "You're wrong. You're not having a personal experience. Trust me, I can't see inside your head, but you're not." I don't think that can get anywhere. You have to concede the reality that these people are having experiences that are moving them quite profoundly.
Yeah.
And,
So,
and in many cases, in productive ways, as Riggs, I think, was trying to say earlier, many people find that religion is a very positive influence on their lives, and good for them. But plenty of people, I think, are capable of being very positive members of society, even without religious indoctrination.
Absolutely. So, for example, when somebody tells me that they have a personal relationship with the God that they love, I can't relate to that. I really struggle. But when they tell me that, the way I view it is like, for example, I had a very personal and meaningful relationship with my father. I love him still. He's dead. He's a part of ash in the ground. He's gone for some years now. But he informed part of who I was. I still love him. I still have a relationship like to who he was as a person. But Max never met him. But I'm a product of that person, and Max is now in part relating with me, and the person who gave me part of who I am today relates with Max. So vicariously, Max, in kind of an odd sort of way, is like communing with my father. And that's kind of how I view when somebody says that they've got a personal relationship with God. I try and view it like that. It's an interpersonal relationship that I don't have any direct connection with and don't have any meaningful way of understanding. But I do kind of respect it.
And I think, sort of Issa was going to go on, I think, to make the point that when you take an idea like Christianity and you combine it with national identity, you combine it with national well-being, it takes on this sort of character beyond just the basic book definition of a religion, but it is nonetheless real from the adherents' lived experience.
That's exactly what I was trying to get at, and that's what I think Andrew is painting. That's the picture he's painting. He's not just painting this biblical picture. He's painting this kind of thing of like, how do you become the best American, for example? Because it's also American, as you can tell. It's a very American cultural reality. And I think for folks like Andrew and, there's other Americans who are like, we're in decay. We're losing our manhood. We're losing all of these kind of spaces. What Andrew becomes, for a lot of people, and I think this is why a lot of people go to the Crucible and believe in this, is like he becomes this voice of reason where he sees, look, we're in this decay. We're in this decay where, men aren't men, women aren't women. We've lost our way, and we need to kind of get back on the path. And this is why I think people like DJT too. It's a part of the same image. It's this idea of making America great again. Returning to this golden era, and I think that is exactly what it is. And when we look at Christianity, so take a thing like abortion, right? This is not in the text. Abortion is not something that's literally in like the New Testament. It's not an important element. If we literally look at the New Testament as a text, it's about Jewish mystics who live in the Middle East, who are under Roman oppression, right? And are kind of, focusing on kind of having liberation throughout this. It's not about marriage, it's not about sexuality. It doesn't really have those themes don't exist, particularly in the Gospels. And I would say in the New Testament as a whole, this is not the core of the New Testament. The New Testament is like, I'm going to believe in, God and the divine right. Even if I get eaten by a lion, this is the most important thing, that I hold to my integrity and my ethics and my morals. And it's not really about having a state or having a civilization. This is not what the purpose of the New Testament text is showcasing. it's basically saying, hey, we are kind of in this apocalyptic time, and we need to get on the right path and follow the truth. And that's what the text is literally saying. But what we see with American Christianity, and like I would say American Orthodox Christianity, is you see this kind of movement where it's like kind of this idea of like, we're going to have purity through the American space. And this is why something like the LDS Church became very popular in America, because it's this idea of, manifest destiny and frontierism. All of these elements are combined in this anthropological stew, and I think you have to understand that.
Do you think? So for me, with Andrew, when he started like berating Mark in the debate around you can't defend yourself against your government if you don't have guns. Therefore, the Second Amendment.
Oh my god!
But the point is, the Second Amendment is very culturally related to the United States. It's very much built in. But also, Poland has a gun law amendment.
Yeah, you have to get a license.
It's very anti-British too. It's an extremely anti-British amendment as well.
In Poland, there's a whole process to get a license. You can't just rock up to a gun store in Poland.
Yeah, agree. And there is a middle ground to be had here in that I fight my government every day. I'm also a licensed firearms holder, and I would challenge a significant portion of the United population to outshoot me. I don't think they can, because I shoot for sport. I shoot in competitions. So we shoot like fractions of an MOA at some distance, minute of angle, for people who don't know what that is. So I'm not. I understand the attitude. I understand the I need a means to fight back, but my means to fight back isn't like Andrew reduces everything to aggression, like physical aggression.
I think it's more complex than that. I think what Andrew is speaking.
Whilst I think that Andrew's position is more complex than that, that's not what he actually argues, because he ultimately reduces his argument to the syllogistic form, and then he reduces it all the way back to what is essentially forced doctrine. And my issue with Andrew here isn't that he's wrong, because ultimately I do think he actually has a point. We rely on those of us that are physically capable in order to enforce the values that we agree with on a societal level. And if those of us that are physically capable decided that we didn't agree with everybody else on a societal level, then those of us who are physically capable would literally fuck everybody else up. That is absolutely true. That you can't get away from the logic of that. The problem is that because the vast majority of us have a degree of empathy, and we've got wives and we've got daughters, that when we have a vested interest in our family, and we understand that humanity is a collaborative effort, I don't think it necessarily works the way that Andrew thinks it does. He reduces it down to a logical principle without accounting for the humanity of humans. He's just purely logical about it, which is I think is a massive flaw. It's great from the point of argument, but it doesn't do him any good in terms of like getting to an end result. There's a reason why Christianity and religiosity is in decline.
I think it's debatable. I mean, I think it depends on where you're at. I think it depends on what statistics and what data we're looking at, and what does it mean to be religious? What does it mean to be spiritual? These things, it's very complex and it's very nuanced. But and I wanted to engage that kind of point about, and I kind of want to go into the open dialogue because we haven't really gotten into that. We need to kind of cover the rest of the debate. We've been kind of covering other things, but it's important to cover the other parts of the debate. And I think it links into the open dialogue. And I felt really bad for Mark because he definitely got really flustered in the debate portion. He got very emotional, And I mean, that's just not going to work in a conversation with Andrew. Like, if you understand Andrew, and I saw this happen with Matt Dillahunty too, because it was the same kind of
Matt
thing.
Dillahunty left.
He did leave. I was at that debate con because I was.
I've watched this happen. Both you and Ozian and you asked questions directly to Andrew at the time, if I remember watching the Afterbits.
I didn't ask a question, but Ozian did. But it was like the thing is that's really powerful in this kind of engagement is like when you're dealing with someone like Andrew, you have to understand where he's coming from. You have to understand his perspective. You have to steelman the position. You can't just go and say, "Oh, I don't, you're just rude, you're just mean." That doesn't engage it at all. You have to like really look at the nuance of his points and what his position is. And because I've seen him on whatever, it keeps popping up on my Facebook feed, this thing called Whatever Podcast, and there's a guy named Brian.
Oh, he's a fucking
and it keeps showing me this. I didn't ask to look for this, and I don't know why Facebook keeps showing me these videos and college humor stuff. I'm like, I'm not interested in these things, but they keep every time I stream there, they keep showing me this stuff. Somehow I got stuck in the algorithm.
I just super quick. I quite like the Whatever Podcast. I watch it quite regularly. And I don't know if it's because you and I interact, that might be why it's pumping it up to you. But the thing that I find interesting about it, like basically they get a load of OnlyFans girls and stuff like that to try and defend their position. And then you've got Brian, who is essentially like, well, I would personally prefer, if I'm dating, to have a young lady with a low body count. And they're like, yeah, but why? And he's like, well, that's my personal preference. And they're essentially arguing the toss between the two. And then you interject somebody like Andrew, who is like an authoritarian Christian variant, who is also rhetorically very sound. And essentially it's a collection of Andrew or Andrew-ish people destroying what they perceive to be ethos.
So the why I brought it up, the purpose of why I was bringing it up, is this really allows you to understand who kind of Andrew is, and by extension we see Brian. It's a very powerful thing because you see, what these kind of shows show is that the idea, and again, like why is the Crucible popular? Why are these things very popular? Is that we see that the idea is that there's this moral decay. And I don't know if you've watched Christian films. I went down the Christian film pipeline. I've seen too many Pure Flix films to mention. I've seen God's Not Dead 1, 2, 3, and 4.
There's a 4?
Yeah, there's 4 of them. I've seen that. I've seen, I think it's called The Encounter. I've seen the Apocalypse trilogy that they have. This is I forget what's called, something Deliverance Road or something like Revelation Road. I saw that.
We're getting some epic feedback on something. I'm getting like a real buzz somewhere.
Yeah, I hear that as well. I don't know.
Is it me?
I
can't hear
no idea.
I can't hear it. It just happens intermittently. Like it happens.
Yeah. Okay, so there's the Revelation Road trilogy. Okay.
Is he? Sorry, no. I don't want to interrupt you. It might be you, but don't worry about it. The content, we'll put up with it. I just was wondering if it was coming from somewhere else. I think your hospital bed is interfering.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, and I've seen the Left Behind series, the Apocalypse trilogy. I've seen all of these kinds of Christian media, and when you watch the Christian media, what you see is like Christians are these heroes that kind of modern Western heroes that have to battle against like kind of the darkness of so-called
atheism.
Not necessarily atheism, like liberalism. This idea of moral degradation. Atheism could be a part of it, but it's the idea that there's this moral degradation within society, and there's this decay in society, that everything is falling apart. PhD Tony was talking about a little bit like that, where he disagrees with that, but that's the idea for Christians in general. They see this decay. So this idea of the force doctrine that Andrew Wilson is talking about is like, he's like, we got to get people back on track. Look how crazy people are. None of these people have stable relationships. They can't be monogamous. They can't do anything like the ancient ancestors. We're all really messed up. So we need to get back to the truth. We need to get back to the light. That's the purpose of what Andrew's argumentation, I think, really rounds about to. That's the essence of what he's getting at. And I think people have to understand that. That's why he's appealing. He's like, people are like, I feel so messed up. I don't know what I'm doing in my life. I have no guidance. I have no way of where I'm going. And I need a path, right? And Andrew's like, hey, we can gain our manhood back. You can gain your womanhood back. You can get onto the straight path. You can get back into being a real person and not this semi-human that this so-called modern liberal degradation brings. So I think that's the key here, and I think that's what Andrew keeps talking about throughout the debate. That's his position.
I have to push back against you a little bit because
Max, sorry guys, I have to go. Sorry.
All right, no problem.
It's just getting late. I just need.
Take care.
See you, John. See you, Issa. See you, Max. Thanks for having me on.
Issa, because everything you said, that's beautiful. He said none of that. He said absolutely. You're being like so charitable that you're making the argument for him. He said none of that. All he said today was like, oh, your view is subjective, mine is objective, which he's wrong about that too. And it's like, yeah, but you don't have an objective standard. And that's all he did. And then play like the worst games, like, oh, I'll give you this super hyper specific if it's two twin brothers that are having sex with each other but they're not having kids. It's like, okay, sure. And then trying to make a generalized argument after the hyper specific example. I don't know. It just he didn't say any of it. That's kind of my problem today.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Andrew wants to ground his argument in objective, and he criticizes everybody else for being subjective, despite the fact that all he's doing is retrospectively trying to justify his subjective position with an objective position that he can't justify. Like he will always tell you, like, I don't need to justify my God. But I've yet to hear a good argument for why not. If you're arguing an objective position, if you're going to quote unquote ground it, then it needs to be grounded, does it not? Like, I mean, you can't just say that you can ground it.
Not even grounding a God. I would be willing to discuss his position if he actually even gave me his position and the justification with references to the text. But he won't even do that. I wouldn't even pretend for him to try and justify God, because he would go down the transcendental route, and that argument is just stupid.
Well, also, just super quick in the side chat, Sunflower. At Cozy 1984. Well, I was born in 1984. Would you be willing to fight me in a cage match? ? With a referee, of course. 3 5-minute rounds. I'll fight you.
So to kind of
no, seriously. So I'm a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, and I'm a 5th dan in Tang Sudo, which is otherwise known as Taekwondo.
Oh, really? I'm 2nd.
Log me in. We'll have fun. It'll be great.
I'm 2nd dan in Taekwondo.
So Max, the point of what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to explain. It's not, we have to not just look literally at what people are saying, because this is an important thing that I've learned in my own studies. There's a thing called positions, interests, and needs. So what people just say on the surface isn't exactly what's necessarily being conveyed. We have to look at deeper structures of communication. So I'm trying to explain what I think in my understanding of what Andrew is appealing to and what Andrew is engaging. Not literalistically what we just hear the words that Andrew is saying. We have to kind of look deeper into that. And I think that's a way to understand the community that he comes from and the community that supports him, and why people are interested in him and why they are persuaded of his perspectives.
So it's a cultural meaning discussion rather than an ontological discussion.
Yeah, it's not just a literalistic interpretation of the words that he's saying, because I think that's the thing. What he's really trying to communicate is this particular point. And and mostly it's very similar. I think Daniel Hakikachu does the same thing. Daniel Hakikachu is saying, because I took one of his classes on liberal mind control, it was a very interesting class, an online class. It was pretty wild, but the idea is it's the same kind of thing. It's this idea that there's this idea that we're stuck in this space where like we're in a matrix and we're capacitors of this system, and we're being manipulated and we're being controlled, and we need to get liberation. And what's being offered is that this religious path is a liberation outside of this. It's outside of this the madness
Dude,
control.
I just love that. Yes, they are indoctrinating you, and
Exactly.
and they're rotting your mind.
That's it.
So what the solution is, come over so we do the indoctrination and the rotting of your mind. That is the solution.
No, Max, come on. Look, so for example, like earlier, like don't get me wrong, I understand the instinct that you have. I completely understand the protectionist instinct. But when Sunflower, I'm sure Sunflower is an Andrew Wilson affiliate. And the reason that obviously Mark was here, and I'm sure Sunflower sent Mark a message, and Andrew a message, and then Andrew came along and he joined this stream, which Andrew has hundreds of thousands of subscribers. There's no the reason that he came here was obviously because one of his fans said, "Hey, Mark's here, come and slap him some more." But that was an opportunity for us to have a discussion with him. And I don't know if he left or if you kicked him, but
no, I kicked him. The yelling, everyone started yelling at the same time.
Yeah, but I have to be honest. Solution. I have to be honest. Andrew wasn't yelling. Andrew was actually, if you watch this back, he was actually fairly calm. He was fairly chill, which is very much a part of who he is with his rhetoric. Don't get me wrong, he fires out abuse, he fires out shots at people, but he does it in a very calm manner. He doesn't shout and scream at people, generally speaking. I'm sure you can find examples of him doing it. But my approach is, as far as I'm concerned, is actually not that dissimilar to Andrew's. I like to listen to a person, I like to hear what they say, and then I like to form an argument against their argument. And whilst I completely and totally disagree with Andrew's religious position, I can't disagree with his approach. And I was looking forward to having a chat or a discussion with him, because frankly, I don't have the clout. He's just going to fucking ignore me. I'm nobody. And the fact that he was here for a couple of minutes and I might have had the opportunity to engage with him, it's a little bit disappointing that there are a couple of things that I think could have come from this. You could have indulged him a bit and it would have drawn more traffic to your channel, which I think is important, because this is a good space. This is a decent space for different people who have differing attitudes to have actual conversations, which are so very few and far between. We disagree on a regular basis. It was an opportunity to be charitable in a way that the left are not perceived to be. The left, my perception from the right, as the perception of the left, is that the left want to essentially reinforce an echo chamber. And whilst when somebody will throw out a racial slur, banning them or blocking them is completely reasonable and legitimate. They're the standards that you set. I don't think Andrew actually did anything here that justified him being kicked, and I would have enjoyed the chance to engage with him, but as much as I do disagree. Think what you wanted me from that, but that's kind of where I fell on that one.
No, that's fine. I mean, there was not much of a choice because it was either kicking him or kicking everyone else because it was getting rowdy.
Well, PhD,
Oh, look at
PhD,
that! Wait, no, not that. Hold on.
PhD Tony was like he came in on a hair trigger. PhD Tony like landed and was fucking going. And as much as I agree with the vast majority of what PhD Tony has to say, it's a little bit like First Amender when he gets into a debate and he like just goes off. Like he there is a really short fuse on that guy's tampon, you know. He just fucking
Last
goes.
last debate, Amender was did well. He did exactly what he needed to do.
Yeah, no, last debate, I agree. He's sort of got control of it, but
all right, super late. So let's do final thoughts, and we'll be on our way. Let's start with you, Issa.
Okay, so I'm going to try to wrap up also because we didn't even go into the question and answer. So I'm going to try to give like a quick, brief summary of that too, so we can at least we've covered all of it in this panel. Yeah, so basically in the conversation, you see some kind of reprisals. I see Mark gets really heated at times, and I think that kind of hurts. It hurts him. Like I think, and I understand where Mark is coming from because when you have a certain kind of mindset where you hear certain things that can be really offensive, like things that like might appear to be prejudicial or racist or bigoted. The thing is, in these debates you've got to be cool and level-headed. Like if you see me debate overall, you're not going to see me get like really heated or upset, because that once you do that, those emotions make it so you don't appear like you have control. You look like you lost control. So it's very important that you kind of maintain stability and control even if you hear things that might offend you. And you're just like, yeah, I hear you saying that, this, I don't agree with this based on these points, and then you can use that as an opportunity to launch why your position seems to be more ethical or moral. I think it's an opportunity moment. So going into the question and answers, that's the thing that just went on pretty much for hours and hours and hours. I was surprised how long it just kept going. um I think they both answered pretty well. I think that they were able to answer their questions pretty well, and I think they did the best. I think both of them did very good for managing for multiple hours going through the questions and answers. So I think that was a pretty impressive feat to go for all those hours. I was thinking, oh, we're going to start at 11 o'clock. Nope, we're starting at like 3 o'clock, and now it's like 5. It's crazy. It's a wild situation. But my overall feeling about the debate is, I love Mark. I think he's a great guy. I do think it's very difficult when you're dueling with Andrew. You need to have a different set of equipment. It kind of reminded me a bit of like Craig's debate, where I was there at DebateCon, and I feel you have to be careful about your emotions. You've got to be aware of your emotions, and you got to hold them in check, and you got to be like, okay, let me engage your points. And you have to know, you have to be kind of slightly prepared for these arguments, because the arguments are going to be like, and Dr. J has a perfect rebuttal for this. It's too bad Dr. J wasn't with us, but I will be in Dr. J's space. I'll be in his stead. You need to showcase that as a secular humanist, you have flexibility. This is what you have over theism. You say, look, we've got flexibility. Your text is immutable. We are mutable. That is our skill set. We can go with the flow. We can go with the water. We change with the time, and that's a good thing. Our evolutionary properties are what makes us strong, and focus on that type of element. Say, yeah, right now it's ethical, and then something might be different in the future. If we're like in 2500, 2500 common era, whatever, our technology and our ethics will change, and that's fine, because according to our worldview, we're allowed to change, we're allowed to be mutable. That is our strength. Like Bruce Lee said, be like water, go with whatever your form is. And I think if secular humanists in general use these type of arguments, that's going to make their position stronger. Don't worry about the manifesto. You're not beholden to that. Yeah, you could say it's a cool text, but you know what? That's just some guy's idea. It's not my religion. It's not my text. Don't hold to those things and show your mutability and show your flexibility. And then I think that would be really profound and powerful. I didn't really see that too much in this debate. I think that Mark got a little bit, what do you call it, fluctuated by, by Andrew. And
I just to avoid the word triggered.
Yeah, he definitely was triggered, and I think Andrew kind of kept to his own perspective. He kept to his own road, and I think of that. To me, he looks more stronger in this debate overall. It's not about what points do I like more. I'm just saying, like, from their presentations, I feel that he has the stronger approach, and because he's mastered this, he's been doing this for a very long time, and he's very good at what he does. So that's what I feel. I love Mark again. I just think he's got to like make sure to calm down and chill when he's engaging in this, and just be like peacefully like, okay, he's saying things that I don't like, but I can listen to them and I can reverse them. I could do an Uno reverse on them. I think that would have helped him.
Just because I've heard you say this before, it's that I'm not worried that you might have hurt your head. But I mean, Andrew today got absolutely crushed, demolished. Andrew had literally nothing, ran away every which fucking way out of every argument like a scared little bitch. Mark had him from the start.
I have to be honest.
Pointed out. No, John, I'm talking. Hold on.
Sorry.
Pointed out exactly how his morality. He claims that it is objective, but it's definitionally not. Didn't want to touch that. Didn't want to defend his position. Andrew lost the debate from the opening. And then it was just, he kept on piling loss after loss after loss after loss. Like, this debate was a shit show for Andrew. I don't know how you see it differently.
I think you're very biased, Max. Like, I love you, brother, but I think you have a bias and you kind of you're not being neutral on this. And
no, I am.
Okay.
Mark creamed all of Andrew's stupid arguments because they're not even arguments. They're just games. They're just rhetorical games.
Well, look, Andrew is rhetorically sound, no doubt. You could a priori award him any position. You could have given him Mark's position, and he would still have done what he does. He would have argued very competently. Nobody's arguing that. Nobody could say that Andrew turns up to a debate and that he isn't good at arguing his position. I think
he didn't argue his position today.
Well,
maybe I'm just being like overly semantic.
His position is that Christianity is better for society, and Mark's position is that secular humanism is better for society. And what the argument essentially descended into was, okay, what constitutes a secular humanist and what constitutes Christian? And then we ended up in a who falls in your group off. Like, Andrew was could criticize secular humanists for like the Holocaust, and then vice versa. You could ascribe it to the same group of people. Like, we ended up with what constitutes Christianity and what constitutes secular humanism, and not actually arguing about the virtues of each position. But you need to actually agree on the positions first. So if I was being critical, from the perspective of debate, I would have wanted to pin down a particular version of secular humanism and a particular version of Christianity and the dogma that is ascribed to it. So, for example, Andrew is an Orthodox Christian, and when Mark referenced the Greek Orthodox Church, he was like, well, that's not my church. Well, which is a perfectly valid and legitimate criticism to take, in the same way as like when Andrew turns around and goes, well, like, look at all of these secular people who have done this horrendous shit. And Mark went, yeah, but they weren't secular humanists. essentially we didn't pin down the positions sufficiently enough to actually have a legitimate discussion. But if we're talking about the optics of the debate here, there is no way I think that a reasonable person could conclude that Mark came out on top. Andrew did what he always does, which is dominate rhetorically. I love Mark. I appreciate Mark. I actually mostly agree with Mark's actual positions. But optically, this did not work for Mark, and it worked for Andrew. And frankly, we need to get fucking better, and we need to get fucking better quick, because this is going in the wrong direction fucking fast. And Max, I love you, but as far as I can tell, you're basically burying your head in the sand with this one.
No, and he got destroyed.
No, if you think that's the case,
yes.
If you think that's the case, I hate to tell you this, but you're wrong, and I also think you're wrong for kicking Andrew. Like, we should have interrogated this motherfucker. We should have had the discussion, like right here, right now, and we don't get it.
But what discussion? He wasn't going to answer my question. He wasn't going to answer my question.
So have him on camera not answering the question. Like, just because he's rhetorically sound doesn't mean that we should run away from him. Doesn't mean that we should kick him. We should have the courage to face him.
No,
this is part of why I'm a virtue ethicist, and it's a big part of why I disagree with Mark. Like, I require myself to stand up to people, even though I think they're smarter, stronger, faster, better than me. It is my responsibility, my duty. I'm honor bound to stand up to them.
Yeah, I understand, and I'm not afraid of Andrew, but I didn't want the chaos. So yeah, I wasn't going to kick all of the other people that were having a problem. So yeah, I had to take the path of least resistance.
Don't take this me as telling you what to do. It is your channel. You get to do what you like with it. I have no ownership, no control, no nothing. I'm just being completely honest. Like, I think we're making a mistake here by, like, you do you, we'll do us. I think we're making an error here. I think this is wrong. I think we need to advocate for our position. I disagree with Issa. I don't believe in a God at all. Issa has faith. But if we are going to tolerate ourselves to death, we're too tolerant. Tolerance in and of itself isn't a virtue. There has to be something that undergirds it. And we're being abused by those that are using our tolerance against us. The likes of Andrew they're going to tolerate us into non-existence. They're going to kill us. And I don't mean literally, I mean philosophically.
No, I didn't get any of that from this debate. Lily Field says 10 Commandments is objective. No, it's not.
10 Commander.
No, but she fixed it there. No, it's not. The 10 Commandments are just about how your God is a petty, jealous child, and two about not murdering and no adultery. All of the rest are about God and how he is very jealous and petty. So,
I mean, Andrew is raising somebody else's child, so I don't know how he stands against the non-adultery thing, which is like quite wide with regards to scope. He has, don't get me wrong, from a secular position, and Andrew's family life is completely virtuous, and I 100% endorse it. I don't understand how he endorses it from his Christian position.
Well, it's also interesting because we're looking at different variants of Judaism. So we're looking at ancient Judaism, whatever term, Hebraic tradition from, you know, from several thousand years ago, right? And then you're looking at first century Hebrew tradition. It's going to have different variants. Like I studied the development of King Solomon, Prophet Solomon, into kind of his evolution. He starts off as this powerful king that has lots of, servants that create, these beautiful palaces for him. Eventually, he becomes like a beast master where he can talk to animals and stuff like that. And he has a power over these supernatural beings called the jinn. It's very interesting because the narratives evolve throughout time. I don't see that to be problematic. I just think that that's an interesting thing that we see. And I think the Judaism that we see of the first century is this mystical spiritual Judaism where like the type of teachings that are going on, it's very syncretic with other mystical traditions. Like if you have lust in your heart for someone, it's like you've committed adultery. That's talking to a person of a high spiritual station, because in these traditions there are different spiritual stations. Not everyone is the same, so you kind of have elevations of, sort of like in martial arts where you have different belts, right? You have different standards that you're at. It's the same kind of idea in spiritual tradition. So what he's teaching is kind of this mystical Hebraic Jewish tradition, and I think that we kind of need to understand the context of that time.
Do you think there's value in teaching someone that a thought is a crime?
No, that's not what Issa said for a start. Sorry, go on, Issa.
So basically, what I was going to say to that point is, I get your point. It's not really even about thought crimes. It's about saying that you're supposed to be at this spiritual level, that you're not even doing this kind of things. Like if this even is entering your space when you're at this level, there's a problem, and that needs to be fixed. But the idea is this isn't for everyone. The problem is some people, when they look at these texts, they think it's universal. It's not universal. It was very much for his disciples and for the people that were around him in that moment. But the problem is, and I've seen this in a lot of spiritual movements, what they do is they take a saint's teaching and then they try to generalize it for everyone. And then that actually misuses the saint's teaching when it was very hyper individualized for specific people at a specific time. And I think that kind of degrades looking at the spiritual tradition. So we should look at it throughout the context. I think that's the important way to look at
it. Obviously, I'm not spiritually engaged in the same way that Issa is, but the way that I tend to look at stuff like this is it's to do with self-control. It's so my emotions happen to me. I don't get to control them. I don't get to tell myself not to feel angry. Like if I feel angry or if I feel love, that's just something that happens to me. But the actions that I take, those emotions inform my actions. Then I get to choose. I get to invoke my will as to, like, if I feel angry towards a person, and my immediate instinct is just to slap them upside the head. Like, I could do that. There's nothing stopping me from doing that. But the thing that is me, myself, goes, well, no, hang on, because you don't understand the reason why they've aggressed against you. They might have something that's going on in their life that, they don't really mean you animosity or whatever the case. And I get to use my reason and my agency to control my actions over and above how I feel. And I think in the same way, we have the same thing with regards to how we believe about, like, what our culture imparts upon us, the beliefs that we're given. So, like you Max, you claim to be an atheist. You categorically state that a God does not exist.
Yeah.
But if a person who believed that God does exist and you've got a face, you both feel the same emotions, right? You'd want to hit me back. You want to defend yourselves. You want to thump back at me. You want to do something, right? But the action that you actually take, whether you decide to curtail those emotions or let those emotions just run riot, is dictated by your belief system, what you believe in. That has to be the case, doesn't it?
Not really, no.
How could it not be?
Because some people have the instinct to fight and some people have the instinct to run, but I don't think it's related to your beliefs.
I think you may have misunderstood. So my wife's calling me. I think you may have misunderstood my question. So I'm not stating that people have different instincts in that, like, people have fight or flight instincts. What I'm saying is that you can have two people who have the same core instincts, but they have two different belief positions. One of them believes in, for example, a god or whatever, and another person believes in secular humanism. And the reason why you choose to act, I'm not talking about your instinct, like we would all have the same instinct. So if I attacked you, two humans, like if I Control-C, Control-V'd you, but I gave one of you Christian beliefs and one of you like human secular beliefs, you both have the same instincts. But when the situation is compared to your morality, you would choose to act in different ways. So, for example,
I'm not following. Like,
so for example, like the whole notion of turn the other cheek, right? So, if you had like the Christian value of, oh no, I must turn the other cheek.
Do you know anyone who actually goes by that?
Well, almost nobody. But that's also why I think it's crap. I don't subscribe to that. I think it's total nonsense. I can have a. This is why I tend towards virtue ethics, because I think this deontological, like, prescribed value is absolute crap. I don't think it makes any sense at all. There are behaviors in which I can see myself engaging that would, on any normal day, be considered to be completely unreasonable and totally objectionable and abhorrent. But if I have to engage in those behaviors in order to protect my child, I will sail my soul down that river. There's no ontological value to that. It's all about virtue, and the virtue is protecting my child. So, like, for me, virtue ethics, it's how we all live our day-to-day lives. I don't understand how, and we use, and this is the discussion that we were having with Mark earlier. Like, I cannot fathom how we work out what is a good virtue without looking at the consequences of the virtue. But the great thing about a virtue is that you don't need a prescribed law. You know, the reason why English common law exists. English common law is essentially it's
now we're talking about English common. You lost me. I have no idea what happened just now.
But so the reason, so this is it. So English common law, like, you have a set of laws, right? You start off with a set of principles, virtues, and then we come across circumstances under which, okay, well, how exactly do we apply this virtue to this set of circumstances? And then we reach a decision, and then that becomes precedent. So when we come across that,
what do you mean? What do you mean by virtue?
So a virtue would be, Well, I mean, there are some main virtues. So courage, valor, honesty.
Okay.
But you ascribe to the virtues, and then the virtues butt up against human behavior, and then you go, okay, how do we best adhere to this virtue? So the notion of like, if you want to if you want to remove the maximum number of criminals from your population, then what you would do is, as soon as you have any kind of evidence whatsoever that a person might be a criminal, you'd incarcerate them. But as a virtue, we have, well, actually, you should not put an innocent person in prison. And because you should not put an innocent person in prison, it is a virtue that we should not put an innocent person in prison, and therefore that requires us to endure the fact that we may, in fact, let guilty people go free, even if they actually require or should be in prison based on their actions. So English law.
But that is the punishment. Why does virtue? What does virtue ethics have to do with that? Because I mean, the solution would be to address the problems that generate the crime. I mean, if we really want to fix anything,
there's nothing stopping you from doing that.
Right, but then you said if we wanted to fix the problem with the crime and started talking about locking up people, that's not how you solve the problem. That's just a band-aid.
Well, no, it's a reaction to the problem, but it is still in line with the virtue. I.e., should people who commit crimes against other people be put in prison?
Yes.
Okay.
But that's not a virtue. That's just punitive.
So responsibility, I would say, is a virtue. And being responsible for one's actions is also a virtue. So you know the argument that Andrew trots out, where he goes like, well, you're advocating for rights, but you're not advocating for duties. He does this on a regular basis, and I've never understood it, because he'll go, well, what's the corollary? You want rights, but what's the duty? And I would say you can't have a right without a duty. So, for example, if I have the right to speak freely, well, the duty that comes with that right is for me to not prevent somebody else from speaking freely. I literally don't understand Andrew's position here. Like, Andrew is a virtue ethicist. He's not arguing from deontology. He is a virtue ethicist. He has a collection of virtues that he thinks should be advocated for, and he's retrospectively inserting a deontological virtue giver. But
yeah, but even then, even if we go with his stupid notion, he's still wrong, because he does not follow what the fucking Bible says. He has not stoned a single adulterer.
Well, I fail to live up to the virtues that I advocate for. Failing to live up to a virtue doesn't mean that you can't advocate for the virtue. I mean, can you think of something that you advocate for that you think
it does? It does when you claim that it's a. It does when you claim. It does.
It's not me interrupting you on purpose. Sorry.
It does when you claim that your morality is objective and unchanging, and you do not do or follow what the book says.
Well, no, that doesn't help you. So, like, if I claimed to arbitrate for this particular set of moral values, but I fell short of them, like, I mean, there must be something in your life where you have advocated for a moral value that you've fallen short of it. Like, I don't think there is a person who exists that can claim to 100% align with their set of moral values.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
So there's nothing you have ever done
that I would advocate
that you would consider to be distinct and not in a line with the morals that you would advocate for.
No.
I have to be honest, Max, that sounds absolutely insane.
Like, can you give me an example? Because I can't think of anything.
So I have personally lied for my own gain, despite the fact that I would tell my children, I would advocate to them that they should tell the truth. And I'm not saying it was a lie with regards to like a white lie about Father Christmas or to save somebody's feelings. I have lied in order to provide myself advantage.
Okay.
I'm not going to give you the specifics, but I don't know a person who hasn't essentially broken their own internal moral code. I've never met one.
I can't think of any time that I've done anything like that. Because I've never done something like that.
I mean, if you haven't, I would suggest you're unique.
No, I was just always kind of good.
Maybe I'm just a little bit bad.
No, I mean, there's probably something, but I wouldn't say that it's like general and it's not that I'm saying that you have to follow your moral code perfect. Is that his whole argument is just wrong. He says his morality hasn't changed and he has never stoned an adulterer or burned a witch.
Yeah, so I don't want to argue Andrew's case too much because I don't agree with it, but you don't like he doesn't like he obviously he doesn't adhere to the not wearing mixed fabrics. Like if you asked Andrew, is a mustard seed or a whatever seed bigger than the other, he would obviously adhere to science, right? Like there's
I mean,
nothing
no, I don't know. He showed today that he's a science denier.
Well, but I've watched several debates with him, and he clearly adheres to the scientific standard. Like, so for example, he believes in evolution. He's categorically stated that he believes in evolution and the world isn't flat.
Yes, today he went down the route of science denial. Maybe it's because he was triggered, but he asked, you know what the telltale sign is? He asked Mark what the scientific method is. That is telltale sign of someone who has no fucking idea what science is.
Well, I mean, I'm sure Mark would have easily been able to lay out what the scientific method was, but asking somebody what the scientific method is doesn't mean that you're antithetical to the scientific method. That could just
in my experience, yes, the only people that do are fundamentalist Christians and flat earthers. Both.
If I asked Iron Horse what the scientific method was, or Whitsitt what the scientific method was, would that mean that I was antithetical to the scientific method?
If you ask them,
yeah,
it would make you look like that. Yeah, the only people that ask that are people who have no clue. That's why they're asking.
No, I could be asking somebody who I thought didn't know the scientific method. My point is Andrew. There is no way that Andrew, who, whilst I disagree with him, he's not unread. Andrew understands these arguments. You can't weaponize an argument and not understand it. I've had this discussion with my wife on regular occasions. She goes, my daughter will try and manipulate me. She'll lie to me and she'll say, like, oh, mum said I can do this, or mum said I can do that, or whatever the case may be. And I go, well, she's trying to manipulate me. And my wife will go, well, she's not trying to manipulate you. I'm like, she's bending the truth in order to achieve a predetermined outcome that she wants. Of course she's manipulating me. And you can't do that without understanding. It's impossible. Like, you can't manipulate a person's position without fundamentally understanding their position.
You need to understand the person, not the position. He plays the person, not the he doesn't understand the position. If he understood the position, he wouldn't go around making the external critique of, oh yeah, your system is not objective. We don't care that it's not objective. It's actually a feature and not a bug that it's not objective.
So
that we can change.
So I think we may have just uncovered. If I could denude Andrew of his belief positions, but leave his understanding, his knowledge in place. If I could interrogate Andrew about, like, does he understand what a compatibilist is? Does he understand what utilitarianism is? Does he understand what virtue ethics is? But I think he could give me a comprehensive description of all of those positions. I think he could do it. I think he actually understands those positions. And I think they're being coloured by his beliefs. So, but I think your position is that you think he's just an idiot and that he doesn't understand them.
Correct. Yes, he is sort of an idiot, yes. He is smarter than witted, but he's not nearly as smart as he thinks he is.
I'm telling you now, Max, that, for me, externally looking at this is a fatal flaw. Making the assumption that he is an idiot.
No, it's not an assumption.
No, he is not an idiot. You don't agree with the conclusion that he's come to. But assuming that Andrew is an idiot, I guarantee you.
I mean, I don't think he's on the same level as Witted, but I don't think he's as smart as he thinks he is. And the way that he argues, he can't defend. I've never seen him ever defend his position of Christianity. All he can do is play his little game about how, oh, it's not objective, bro. And no one cares about that. So when he cannot, for the life of him, make an argument for Christianity, and he does this shit for a living.
Right. So
that is very dumb.
So but what he's doing is something that is actually quite clever. And I don't understand why you don't see it. So I don't advocate for moral relativism, but I also can't make the argument for moral objectivity either. And Andrew has very, very carefully placed his position directly between the two. He will make the claim that his position is objective. And then when you ask him, well, how is your position objective? He will state, well, your position is an objective, so on what basis are you critiquing my position? But he will at least make the argument that his position has a possibility of being.
Yeah, but he's wrong.
But it doesn't matter. His position.
What do you mean it doesn't matter? Of course it matters. No, he's wrong.
No. Look, Max, objectively ground your reality for me.
Well, what do you mean?
So objectively ground your morality for me. I'm just asking you, like, forget Andrew's position.
Why would I have to ground it objectively? I don't believe you can do that. There is no objective morality.
Yeah, great. So now, Andrew, when you ask Andrew to objectively ground his morality, he will go, well, because my God has given me objective morality. And you'll go, well, you can't demonstrate that the God exists. But Andrew has given you a set of parameters under which his morality could, in principle, be objectively grounded, right?
Yes, and he's wrong about those too.
Yeah, but in principle, how can you ground your morality?
Because it's not subjective, because he's not following what the book says.
But that's the whole point of his fucking argument. He has...
Yeah, but that is self-refuting. What is happening?
No, it's not. It's in principle, I can objectively ground my morality,
John.
and in principle, you can't.
No, he can't be... No, he can't be there.
It's complete crap. It's total bullshit. But that's the optics from where he grounds his argument.
And he doesn't ground the argument. No, because it's self-refuting. Like, when you ask him where, in the last debate, someone asked him, where does the morality come from? And he said, I don't do Jewish morality, I do New Testament morality. Okay, and which is that? And he said the Ten Commandments, which is the Old Testament.
Yeah, look, I'm not disagreeing with, like, there are obviously gaps.
So he hasn't grounded anything. He doesn't even go by what the book says. So what objective grounding are we talking about? He has one interpretation that removes the part about stoning people and all of that. So what objectivity are we talking about? That is not objective, definitionally not.
I realize that you may feel as though I'm not on your side and I'm arguing against you. I agree with you. I'm on your side. I completely agree with you. What I'm doing here is trying to make the case for why Andrew's position makes sense to a huge number of people and why Andrew is not an idiot. If you underestimate him, he will fuck you up consistently. And this is the problem that I think we have with Andrew's position. He has been repeatedly and consistently underestimated. He is not a stupid man.
I think he's overestimated. I think he's actually an idiot.
I can't
but we have the same discussion with Issa, for example, with Whitsitt. Whitsitt is another idiot. He can speak well, he can rhetorically play all of the bullshit games in the world, but he cannot argue for shit.
Putting Whitsitt in the same box as Andrew Wilson, I would argue, is doing... But I can't believe I'm about to say this, but
they play almost exactly the same games.
No, that is doing Andrew Wilson a disservice. And Andrew,
I think they're quite similar. I think Whitsitt and Andrew Wilson are quite similar. They're actually good friends. When I was at a DebateCon, they were sitting together. They're friends. Alex Stein. I was right near Alex Stein, Andrew Wilson, and
idiots get together. Yes.
Well, yeah, but I'm a free market capitalist, and Max is a communist. And I'm friends with Max. Like, just because we take different positions doesn't mean... I'm talking about the argument that's being made here. Like, I mean, Issa, I cannot... Andrew,
I don't think Whitsitt's position. I don't think his rhetoric is really that bad. I think for a flat earth debater, he's like the best of the best. Like, when I saw it, I was like, okay, I actually have to like look into what these are, because I debated as a flat earther.
Yes,
if you remember.
Issa. But what is the problem? You consider that good debating. I don't consider that. I just consider that being a slime ball, because all he does is find ways to lie. That's all Whitsitt does.
I don't think lying makes you a bad debater. I don't think you have to be honest and tell the truth in a debate. There's no you can lie in debating. It's about sounding good. It's not about actually providing honesty. Debating isn't about providing the truth. I don't know why you would think that. You don't have to. Look at politicians. They lie all the time. The one who wins isn't the one who tells the truth. It's the one who's the most convincing. It's not based on truth. We don't grade debates based on people telling the truth. That's something we have to understand. You got to put that out the door. It's not based on truth.
Well, I mean, I would have to grant you that with regards to the so Whitsitt, out of all of the flat earthers, I would grant you is probably one of the best flat earthers with regards to the number of people that they're able to convince with their quote unquote shilling of faux science. I'll grant you that. The topics that Andrew Wilson is discussing cannot be put in the same category as whether the earth is fucking flat. Like the discussions around philosophy, morality, the ecumenical discussion that he wants to have with regards to different types of religion, they're not the same thing. Like the ontological facts of the matter cannot be so easily. He's essentially having a sociological discussion. It's not the same thing, and frankly, I don't put them in the same box. So, for example, what was being discussed earlier, where Andrew used the word, I'm not going to say it, I'm going to spell it. It was ABO, and it was an abbreviation for Aboriginal. And Mark, culturally, may have justifiably lost his shit. I don't know. I'd never heard that abbreviation before. I have to be honest, I'd never heard that abbreviation before. When Andrew asked Mark, well, if somebody uses the N-word in any context, does that make them racist? And Mark said yes. And I was like, well, hang on a minute, you can't make that claim. What if like
again, yeah, Andrew was right on that one, but again, it's more silly games. It's about dodging. It's about just
and Max, it's okay. That's trickery. That's how you win debates. In some, you might play dirty, and that's, I think a lot of debaters do that. The best debaters are going to play dirty, and that's how they win.
I think if you have to play dirty, it means that your position is shit.
And that might be the case, but about winning, like if you're like, let's say you're in a tournament, right? And you're weaker than your opponent, and you want to win, you're going to like to throw dirt in their face. You might play dirty because you want to win, but ultimately you defeat your opponent. You might do trickery.
That's how you get disqualified.
Yeah, if you're in an honest tournament, but we're not talking. We're talking about like a tournament where there's like no rules, like a kumite type of tournament where there's no rules. You might play that type of thing where there's no holds bar. That's how these debates are on modern day debate. You could do any type of trickery. It's not about honor. It's not about dignity. It's not about nobility. It's about, do I sound good? Am I persuasive? Do I get people on my side? That's ultimately it. You could lie the entire time. Look at politicians. They lie all the time in debates. They will say thousands of lies in each debate that they're in. But that's not how they win. It's not based on the truth they tell. It's based on how persuasive and how people find them to be credible. It's not about if they actually are credible. And I think that's the thing that was difficult for you. You're like, well, Andrew's just lying out of the wazoo. So you're like, well, he's lost because he lied, right? But the thing is, for other people, it's not about him lying. It's about, he looks good.
Well, I don't care about what other people say, but he didn't outline his position, and he lied and made up the most outlandish hypotheticals that are constrained to like one person in the world has ever experienced that, like a set of twin brothers who are incestuous and don't want to have kids. Like, when has that ever happened? Never.
Yeah, it's obviously a completely insane situation, and you would look at it from the perspective of utilitarianism. You go, well, why is that an issue? And from the perspective of the outcomes, the causation, it's really not. But that's only if you're looking at the outcomes from that group. I can make a societal argument, but Andrew would disregard it. Because he would drag it back to his insane hypothetical. But the point that I'm making here is that if you make the assumption that Andrew, right or wrong, is an idiot, the way that he structures his arguments, the way that he collates and fires his facts at the audience in order to convince them, he is not an idiot.
Yeah, I heard you. You're still just affirming he's not an idiot, but I don't. It's not an assumption. It is an inference based on the amount of times that I've seen him do the same bullshit every single time.
Yeah.
But it's objective. But it's objective. And then when you press him on how his worldview is not how he's presenting it, it's not objective, he dodges the conversation every single time.
Completely grant you. I'll grant you that. I will grant it. But the whole point of being a rhetorician isn't being right. It's about how many people you convince. His audience is fucking massive.
His audience are more idiot than he is. That's why it works. Andrew Wilson in my country would be living under a bridge because he can only flourish in a place where people more idiotic than him are the norm.
So do you think that you're going to rescue this collection of idiots that sit underneath Andrew's umbrella more easily by just like shrieking and saying that Andrew's wrong? Or do you think that you're going to rescue them by being a better rhetorician for the values that you argue for than Andrew? Don't get me wrong, truth is a value, it is valid, it is something that he's arguing for. But, can we at least drape it in like a bit of rhetoric to drag these idiots away from Andrew? And you can't be convincing and a fucking moron. These two things are antithetical. People they're repulsed by idiots.
No,
and
they're not.
No, we're attracted to intelligence.
The MAGA crowd.
Trump might be morally objectionable, but he's not a fucking idiot. And again, this is another person.
Yes, he is.
No, he has been.
We might have do you think Trump is a smart person?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I think, Max, I think you're making, don't take this the wrong way, because I don't mean it the way that it may sound, but I think you're making the mistake of all losers that have ever lost in the existence of humanity, and you are underestimating your enemy.
I'm not underestimating him. I know that has... No, I'm not. I know he has a certain... I know his stupid games, his little tricks, they're shitty. And that is not the hallmark of a smart person to me. A smart person, a person who argues in good, smart faith, doesn't have to use tricks. You can just lay out the reasons why your position is good.
Well, without wanting to float your ego too much, let me try this. Can you explain with regards to free will, do you understand what compatibilism is? Bearing in mind that we had the free will debate only a few weeks ago.
Yes.
Okay,
more or less.
You're in a fraction of 1% of humanity that can explain that argument. I can explain it. Issa can explain it. You can explain it. We're interested in these topics, right? When you look at somebody like Trump, or you look at somebody like Andrew Wilson, and you say that they're idiots, we're interested in these intellectual topics. The vast majority of people in the planet are just trying to put food on the table. They couldn't give a single fuck about these topics.
How does that make Trump smart?
No, because they're not what I would call informed. It doesn't mean that they're stupid. They're just not informed. The vast majority of the time...
but Trump is literally stupid. What are we talking about?
But he's not. That's the point. You can't be stupid and manipulate people. How many times can I say
yes, you can.
No. Charisma, the ability to manipulate people, it has to have, there's agency that is required.
Or pity. No, but do you think that manipulation can only happen in one? You can manipulate someone by pretending to literally be stupid. You can manipulate them out of pity. so that they help you. You can manipulate them out of guilt. You can manipulate them out of anger. You can manipulate them out of happiness, out of sadness.
But there's some kind of degree of intelligence that allows you to do that.
That is required.
I agree with
Yeah,
John on that.
a minimum.
I
You
think
can still be a manipulator and be an idiot.
I think it's hard to do that, though. I think you have to have you have to know what your audience is, and you have to know how to be able to get them to give you what you want. You know, that takes, and I believe in Steinberg's multiple intelligence theory. So I think there are different kinds of intelligences. I don't think that intelligence is a monolith. So I think Trump has an intelligence, but it's a different kind of intelligence. It's not like your book smart type of intelligence, like this type of thing. It's a different kind of, like, he's a street smart kind of thing, where he's able to, he's like the snake oil salesman who's able to get people to buy his product, and he has. People have gone to Trump University. People have bought Trump steaks
and got scammed.
Yeah, but they were able to. But he was able to get people to do it. And like those, evangelical preachers that say "sow a seed today," they've gotten people to do it. So you have to have some kind of thing that allows people to get people to do what you want.
But that is
not all of us can do that, because they're like people.
Not being smart.
I would say it's being smart. It's a different kind of being smart. It's not like reading a book being smart, but it's a social intelligence. That is an intelligence, though. Social acumen. Like, you have people who can pass medical school, but they can't talk to another human being. They have no social intelligence, but they have intellectual intelligence. They're able to read books. They can tell you what the book means, but they cannot communicate with anyone. But they lack that intelligence. So
it's the axis between IQ and EQ.
And there are other different, that's emotional intelligence. There's different other intelligences too that exist. I wrote a whole, paper on this, on Howard Gardner's multiple intelligence theory. It's really cool stuff, So, but yeah, I think that's what we have to understand, Max. Just different intelligences that we utilize. And the thing is, we don't want to just call people stupid. We could say, okay, they're using a different kind of intelligence here.
You might not do that, but I think Andrew is an idiot. Winston is an idiot, and Trump is even more idiotic than them too.
If that's what you believe, I mean, that's what you believe. I'm not gonna fight that.
I cannot stress this enough. How can I put this? I actually think I want to disassociate myself from the notion of conservatism. I think I'm a little bit more of a traditionalist. I have a memory of my family life and social life in school that I think, as far as I'm concerned, produced an unbelievably great society that gave them the maximum number of people the best opportunity to succeed. It's important to me that my children have that as well. I consider it a duty of mine to pass that on to them. And there does appear to be, in both Europe and the United States, a large number of people that are pushing back against a cultural change that I'm not necessarily happy with. But if you want to affect change within your culture, and you identify a group of people that you think are responsible for that change, to assume that they are an idiot, to assume that they do not have the ability.
It's not an assumption. For the third time, it's an inference.
Okay, fine. To infer. But
I already gave my justification. I don't.
But they can't be effective and a moron.
Yes, you can.
How?
Because I already told you there's many ways of manipulating.
Yeah,
And I say idiot to summarize, but I don't mean that he's like literally mentally handicapped. I just think that he thinks that he's.
Well, you said idiot,
way,
not retarded, so I'll grant you that.
He thinks he's way smarter than he actually is. All he can do is play silly little games. I could defend Christianity way better than him, and I wouldn't have to use the shitty argument about objective and subjective.
I'd be interested to run the experiment. I think
we did it. I debated Dr. J. The video is lost, unfortunately, but it happened.
Well, we'll probably have to do it again, because a lot of these discussions, as entertaining as they are now.
I don't know if I can. I suffer too much.
But and again, like, there are people who I consider to be intellectual enemies. You're, Max, you're at minimum a socialist / communist. Leo, very similar. Issa is a mythicist Muslim. I'm an agnostic. Dr. J is a Christian. I have disagreements with either religious or economic and social positions that you have. I disagree with all of you to one degree or another, but I don't consider any of you to be an enemy.
Right.
There are people in this world that I consider to be enemies, and I would like to think that at an absolute minimum, I do not underestimate them.
Right. You keep saying that I underestimate, but I don't underestimate him. I know he has skill. I know he has a threshold of skill. I just think that it's a bullshit, stupid skill not worth having. Like being a filthy fucking liar.
But it affects an outcome. It has to be a useful skill. Like, evolutionarily speaking, it has to be. It has an impact, a positive impact that they're able to steer. They're able to control it. It's not like random. This is...
No, it's not random. It's circumstantial. Because one of the very few places on Earth where he could get away with being exactly the way he is because he lives in the US. In my country, the people like Andrew Wilson, literally no one cares about what they have to fucking say.
Yeah, and there's a very tiny proportion of them that exist in the UK as well. But that doesn't mean that they don't exist and they might not become ascendant. Like this, the Western world especially, we currently live in this little bubble, this post Second World War bubble, where we think, oh yeah, we've solved it all. Fucking no.
No one said that. Hold on. Yonderstone sent this a while ago, and I forgot. What evidence is there that Wilson understands? I agree. I don't think he's that smart.
Well, no, because he can form. You make a statement, he can then form an argument against the statement that counteracts the statement that you've made.
No, he can't.
No, he does.
He cannot. No, he doesn't.
Max, I'm telling you that it doesn't make any sense for you to tell me that he doesn't understand the position when he can condense it into a syllogistic form and then fire it back at you and critique it.
He can't do that. Every time he does that. Every time. I know that what he tries, but every time he does that, today, he had to go to a hypothetical about two twin brothers having incest who didn't want to have kids. He has to construct this outlandish scenario of something that is like next to impossible. and then makes a general argument about that. That is not a sign of being smart. That is a sign of someone just being a literal slime ball.
So, again, I don't agree with Andrew. I can't stress this enough. But this has to be acknowledged. If he understands his interlocutor's position and then regresses it back to a point at which he can make an argument that may potentially at least be valid, not necessarily sound, but valid, he has to understand the position. You can't claim that he's a fucking idiot and doesn't understand the position. It's ridiculous. It's insane. It is
clearly
like
does not.
No,
yeah,
it is
yeah,
like arguing.
Clearly does not.
Arguing that Andrew does not understand these arguments when he comprehensively and reliably argues against them is akin to arguing that the Earth is flat. You can't make that
because if he
claim.
understood the argument, he will understand that it's an external critique to use his subjective measuring stick when we don't give a fuck about our morality being subjective, John.
This is why
David says, I think John and Issa are blinded by his confidence. Yeah, I think it's that.
No, it's not that. Because I don't agree with him. I'm not blinded by his confidence. I don't agree with him. I've come to a different conclusion. I just understand the argument that he's making. And the problem is that his confidence and the understanding of the argument that he's making is why that a huge number of people agree with him. And what I'm telling you is that what's doing the disservice is people assuming that he's a fucking idiot when it comes to arguing against him. We've just watched that happen in real time. I agree with almost everything that Mark said. Almost all of it.
And but that's where, because I think today Andrew Wilson got destroyed. I had never seen him fail a debate like today. Literally, like absolutely horrible. Yonderstone for another $5. Thank you so much. Name a single argument Wilson made in favor of Christianity as better for society. He only made arguments against strawmans of secular humanism. That's for you, John.
Yeah, no, I get that. But could you not ask the same question in the reverse? So, for example, what Wilson would do here in this particular circumstance, he would go, well, hang on a minute, you've asked me to make an argument in favor of Christianity, but you're criticizing Christianity with regards to, for example, child abuse. And then Wilson would go, but there's more child abuse in secular humanist schools by comparison. And I suppose the argument that could be made with regards to Christianity is better for society. I don't know if Wilson made it in this debate, but
yeah, that wouldn't be an argument for Christianity, though. So we're still in the same thing.
Well, no, it wouldn't be an argument for Christianity, but it would be a tu quoque. It'd be a what about you then?
That's what this guy specifically asked you. Name a single argument Wilson made in favor of Christianity. He didn't. He didn't do one. And we've said this before. We've said this when flat earthers just never present their evidence for flat earth and they just attack the globe. If you do not defend your position, you lost the debate from the start.
Yeah. So
he did not defend his position.
So what BOP would be required in both directions, do you think?
What?
So what burden of proof? What burden of proof is required to justify secular humanism over Christianity?
No, we're not even talking about burden. Just give me an argument, and then we'll think about the burden when we get to the argument. Because I mean, the burden depends on what you give as an argument. But he would have to at least give some kind of argument as for why Christianity is positive, because he doesn't get to say, oh, I attack secular humanism, then Christianity wins by default. No, because it could be the case that it actually Islam is better, or Buddhism, or whatever.
Okay, right. So I understand the criticism now. Well, on that, then I completely agree. And Andrew doesn't really give much of an argument at all.
Okay, then he loses every time.
He is pretty fishy with regards to that, and that's a big part of why
that's why I think he's an idiot.
But that's not an idiotic position.
Yes, it is. If you can't defend your position, you're a moron.
But that in and of itself isn't an idiot. If you know that's what you're doing going in.
What, and why is he doing that? Is he not smart enough to actually defend his position, or is he just a piece of trash?
No,
I think it's both.
I think the reason that he does it is because if you take on any part of the dogma, then it puts you in a really quite tricky situation where optically with the audience, you're going to have to be in the, so for example, like if you take on any part of the dogma that categorically states that same-sex relationships are sinful, for example, you're going to lose a huge chunk of the audience almost immediately. Or if you take on, what's the first commandment? Love thy God and only thy God, or whatever. It immediately isolates anybody else who may well be watching the debate who's not a Christian, who might be vouching for the theistic position. So I don't think it's stupid. I don't think it's idiotic. I think it's a good debate tactic. It's not honest, but it's not a stupid debate tactic. It's a good debate tactic.
I guess we found I don't think that's a good debate tactic. I think that is just
because
horrible.
but you're seeking truth.
Yes.
He's looking to convince as many people as possible. Your objectives are not the same.
I know.
So again, it's not stupid. It's wrong, but it's not stupid. Like if somebody like murdered a person and they engaged in a really convoluted and clever way of avoiding detection, we would say they were wrong, but we wouldn't say they were stupid, right?
Right. Now.
Well,
now that person commits the murder and self-incriminates, which would be the equivalent of going into a debate and using a self-refuting position or not defending your own position.
Yeah, so let's say they self-incriminate, but the purpose of during the process of self-incriminating, the jury votes that, like collectively, the jury of their 12 peers votes that they're innocent because they've managed to convince them of the position. It doesn't matter if he self-incriminates, if he achieves his objective. His objective is to convince as many people, not for you to find him out in an argument. Let's see you find him out in the argument. Great, well done you. He's still convinced to shit other people.
What do you mean by convince? Because I don't think he convinces. I think he just has fans and sycophants and zealots who, if they wouldn't be cheering for this dummy, they would be cheering for some other dummy that would tell them what they want to hear.
Probably.
So I don't think he convinces people. I think he just placates and basically appeals to a certain group of people who.
This is where I'm going to be vocalizing the idiot. I would like to think that through conversation, we can, maybe possibly, lift ourselves out of the muck and the shit that we squall around in. So my daughter's 9 and my son is 6, and I'm trying to have conversations with them at the moment about how to think, not what to think. So my daughter's school report came back, and they said, "Oh yeah, your daughter's memory recall with regards to the times table and mathematics needs improvement because it is absolutely essential for her to be able to be successful in maths going forwards." The implication being is that if her memory recall with regards to the times tables, because you do 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 2, 3 times 3, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, that's not how maths works. Maths is a system. You need to understand how the system works. I don't give a shit how good your memory of a song about the system is. You need to understand how the system works. And I'm trying to explain this to my daughter at the moment. It doesn't matter how long it takes her to get to the right answer, whilst it would be nice for her to get to the right answer in an expedient fashion. It doesn't matter if she can sing the song. She just needs to understand how maths works. I've had to go back to school multiple times because they've marked questions incorrectly. Usually the times 0 question, which is a bit concerning. Understanding how things works is far, far, far more important than just going along with the flow.
What's the point? You're a bit rambly today. You're losing me. You're losing me. Like when I understand half of what you're saying, the point has already gone like 10 minutes ago.
So how to think is much more important than what to think. And I think
sure
how you argue, when you're arguing against Andrew, you're saying Andrew's an idiot.
Yes.
And I think you're saying, I view that in the same way as like that's a what to think argument, not a how to think argument. And Andrew's argument is the same, but he at least he's making a what to think argument, but he loosely drapes it in a how to think argument.
What?
Well, the distinction between, come on, you must understand the distinction between how to think and what to think. Like somebody gives you the answer and then they retrospectively tell you how they got to the answer. Or they go, here's how I got to the answer, now what do you think?
Yes. Like he never does that though.
Yeah. But he drapes it in a veil of that. And I whilst you don't do the same thing, I would just like to have the conversation about how we get to the answer. And
he never does that. He never defends his position. That's why I call him an idiot. I don't know how many more times I have to tell you.
Yeah, but he explains the syllogistic form of his arguments, and I don't think you can condense every argument into a syllogistic form, but he at least explains the syllogism. It's the same way as it's the William Lane Craig bullshit. His arguments have like 47 like prepositions and possibly 3 different conclusions. They're insane arguments, but he at least explains them. Like just calling Andrew an idiot and moving on doesn't help. But
it's a figure of, I don't, you think that I literally think that he's retarded? No, I just think he's an idiot like Witted. I don't think he's nearly half as smart as he thinks he is. He's just a bad faith moron.
I mean,
I don't know what the contention is. It's not that big of a claim.
Well,
he thinks he's super smart, that he's the ultimate gift to debating that there is. He's just a dishonest piece of trash. That's it.
You could probably get you would probably get agreement from me with bad faith. But we should not underestimate him.
I know you've said that. I don't underestimate him. I know he has a certain level of skill. I just think that it's a very stupid skill to have, which makes him a stupid person. Because all he can do is lie and be sneaky and be dodgy. That's not smart. That's not honest. That's why, to Max, Andrew Wilson is an idiot, just like Whitsitt.
Are you synonymizing smart and, like, for somebody to be smart, they have to be honest?
No.
Okay.
You have very smart, very dishonest people. What I do tend to believe is that if you're smart, you can argue any position using the best arguments and not these shitty, slimy tactics. If you are confident in your position, you can just make a decent argument. If you can't, then we have a limitation there. Idiot. I mean, I don't know why. I've called people idiots many times. I don't know why
I think
you fixated so much on it today.
Because my perception of Andrew is that he's incredibly effective.
Effective does not mean not an idiot.
Yeah, and again, I disagree with this, but so
I don't know what else, what round. You're not going to convince me that he's smart. He's not smart. If you wanted to convince me that he's smart, let's set up an IQ test between me and him and see what's what.
Yeah, but this is the problem. You concede that he is able to convince a large number of people. You concede that he is able to marshal like an argument that can convince a large number of people. You concede.
Wait. I never said he convinced. No. I never said he convinced. He just appealed. Yes, I know. He has a massive following of people who are looking for that. But you don't know if maybe he's just doing it because that's the only work he could find. There could be a situation in which he is a fucking raging communist and he's just doing that because that's the audience that he found to make money. That is not in outside of the realm of possibility. So it could.
At the risk of disagreeing with you even more, I'm so concerned about Andrew Wilson with regards to his effect on popular culture that I actually looked into him and his credentials. He's from what I understand, he's not an engineer. He's like a roboticist or something. Like he's worked in like mechanical engineering and similar fields. He's not an idiot.
Ryan Smith says Andrew is effective because he is smart. No,
I didn't.
What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah,
I said
came late.
Andrew Wilson is effective, and we shouldn't underestimate him. And to assume that he's an idiot would be a mistake. I would not make the assumption that because I disagree with a person or because they've come to a conclusion that doesn't make sense to me.
You're starting, yeah, we're going in a giant circle. You're starting to repeat yourself over and over. It's not an assumption; it's an inference, and we're not going anywhere. Andrew Wilson's one of the largest and fastest growing debaters. Yeah, so America is filled with dumb people, dumber than him. So if I think he's dumb, you have no idea what I think about his fucking audience. So yeah, no, I just don't think he's as smart as he thinks he is. And I have no idea about his credentials, but the fact that he could be smart at electrical engineering doesn't mean that he's good at the Oh, look at this! Look at Andrew has yet to lose. He lost today, so get wrecked. Especially since Matt did the boss music pitch out. Oh, that's adorable. Why don't, are you like literally kneeling down below his chair right now?
A qualification in like STEM does at least imply that there's the ability to understand. Like it.
Oh, for fuck's sake, John! You could be one of the biggest raging nerds. You could be a theoretical physicist and still be an idiot.
Well, in a given field, yeah, I'll grant you. But you've
yes,
got
so this argument is pointless. The fact that he did mechanical engineering, I don't care.
So Max, on average, like if I rocked up and told you that I hadn't even got out of like K through 12, and I was lecturing you on like physics or something, and then I tell you that I've got a BSc in architectural technology, which is what I do have. Like, who would you assume is more intellectually capable, and who, on average, would you be more likely correct in assuming is who is more intellectually capable?
I can't tell you. I need to talk to them. I need to know them. I need to see them functioning.
Again, Matt, I'm making an on average argument, Max. Like, yes, of course.
But no, I can't tell. I can't. I just told you a degree. You could be a literal theoretical physicist and still be an idiot. You're not understanding that what I'm saying is an idiot. I'm using it as someone who thinks they are way smarter than they are. That's what I'm using as an idiot. I don't know what.
So you're making the Dunning-Kruger argument. You think the person who thinks that they're smarter than they are knows more about a particular subject than they actually do.
Yeah, that's what I call idiots. But that's what I've been saying for like 30 minutes.
So if you were to say to me that you think Andrew Wilson has is like a Dunning-Kruger complex with regards to philosophy and logic, that would be more justified than saying that he's an idiot. I don't agree with you, but it would certainly be more justified than saying that he was like an idiot.
It says I'm saying the same thing. That's how I'm using it. I told you how I was using it from the start. When I noticed that you're using idiot in a different way than me. Or I am actually the one that's using idiot in a different way. This is not hard. I don't know why it's so complicated for you to understand.
No, just feels like an underestimating.
Again with the why are you so going in so many circles today? I already told you. I don't underestimate him. I know he has some skill. I just think those skills are shit. And he's dishonest. Can't debate, can't defend his position, and also is an idiot because he says some very stupid stuff.
I mean, I probably wouldn't have kicked him on that basis then.
I already explained that too.
No, I get that.
All right. Humanism, I agree. Margaret triggered after hours of bad faith, bad moderation, and resorted to name calling from time to time, but the ratios were completely one-sided. I agree.
Yeah, Andrew brought his entourage as usual. They gangbanged the chat. So.
Yeah, but and I mean, James gave him a pass. Like, just started insulting Mark, and yeah, that moderation today was lacking. There was a moment where they were just like 3 minutes just calling each other names one after the other. That was, I mean, that's when you have to intervene as a moderator. I don't know. Moderation today was quite horrible. All right, it's like almost 8 a.m. So we already did all of things. Before we go, make sure to do the social thing. It's like, share, subscribe, send it to a friend, send it to your significant other, go to the corner, yes, the corner of your street, and just subscribe to Yerba Mate Talks. And that way we can set up for the channel. Issa, get better. I hope you and your mom get well. Do you have any idea how long you're going to be hospitalized?
We'll be here for probably the beginning of next week.
Okay.
Well, as remote as I am, Issa, if there's anything I can do, let me know.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Everyone sent you many messages to get well, so do that, please. And keep us posted. We'll catch you on. I think I'll do something tomorrow night. Don't know what yet, but we'll probably do something tomorrow night. And with that, thank you everyone for being here. Take care. Have a good night, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye bye.